All right. Hello, family. Great to have you guys joining us. I have special guest joining as well. My
What's up,
clone,
guys?
my brother over here, Michael. For those of you who are new, you may not know that I do have a twin. And yeah, it's been quite the journey. He's been a big part of it. A lot of people have been a big part of it. My wife is a huge part of this. And so, founded Earth Brothers should have had the and sisters and wives and all of that in the title. But yeah, this is something that we have decided to put together just to help those of you who are new to our ministry and platform to see some of the things that have been buried from pre-censorship era. Because when we first started, it was just wide open on YouTube. It was awesome. You can put stuff out there. People could share it. It would be recommended. And the truth was growing so fast, they just had to, slow things down and censor things. And you can see that. I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to pull this up real quick. This is our little analytics. So you can see in real time over the years, we've been blessed. We've had over 12 million, almost 13 million views
Wow.
on this channel. And you can see the left side is the early days. And it has since, like, you could see where the off switch was hit. And it's not really an off switch. It's kind of like they pinched the garden hose a little bit, trickling out, but it's enough to really make an impact. And we're still blessed. In spite of the censorship, we've been blessed and protected. And so we are glad to still be here and be in fellowship with you guys and study these things out. But this little marathon, I just wanted it to be a laid back, fun time to hang out with you guys, fellowship, share some of our testimony, and then play some of our more, heavy hitting videos along the way. So it's going to be a laid back experience, I hope. And then after this is over, I'll want to go in and timestamp all the little videos that we play so that you can find them and have links to them and go back if you're wanting to share a specific video. Maybe you have a family member who's interested in the firmament, or they're not ready for the firmament. They need something else. We'll have all of them linked in. And so this will go through the journey a lot like many of us did, where you start and, originally it was looking into the faking of what's above us and what's out there, the faking of space. And that was our first video on this channel. And so it's been quite the journey for sure. I'm going to remove that from there real quick. But the thing about this little marathon is the videos aren't going to be high quality. I'm going to be playing them through StreamYard, and so they're not going to be 100%, high quality. Not that they're actually high quality in YouTube, but the higher quality versions will be linked in the description later on, so you can come back and find them. And so that'll be hopefully pretty easy to navigate. And you all in the chat, we have a lot of awesome people, a lot of our moderators. I thank you for your diligent work. This could be a long hangout, or it could just not go smoothly with all the the videos not playing as well. It's hit or miss. A lot of it depends on our internet and all of that. So if it's not going so well, we may just hang out and do like we're doing now, talk to you guys, share our testimony, and then call it a day. But hoping it will play pretty smoothly, because we're going to end with the grand finale of one of everyone's favorite videos, the one that my brother made here, the final card. And so he can probably tell you a little bit about that. Do you have anything to share about your journey with that video and the inspiration and how you actually just started making videos by request? I think I requested that you start making them. I was like, you need to try it. And you're
Yeah.
like, nah.
Yeah, I was doing the biblical teachings and just sending them to Josh, and he would kind of make them presentable, and that was just kind of not my thing. But I think when God puts something on your heart to make it, and you hear people saying, we really need this in our community, a video that everyone can go to, and something they could share with a skeptic, something that, and I think that's something we lacked, was something that wasn't just a conspiracy themed video, that it took itself serious, and it broke down every single part of the deception in a way that was engaging. And me and Josh, it was funny getting together with that, because it's like you have all these slides and all these clips. And I mean, we had hundreds and hundreds of slides and clips and videos. And the fun part was figuring out, like, how do we put it all together? We have it all in this big program, this video editing program, and organizing it from start to finish was, I mean, that was the biggest part to me. Finding the stuff is fun, and trying to get a high quality clip of things is it's like a scavenger hunt. But really sitting down, we had little yellow note cards all over this board. It was like, okay, this is where this goes, and then you move it somewhere else. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah. I was
a
cleaning out my
spirit-led
office and
journey.
I found one of our it was like it's the back of like a receipt where we were writing out the timeline. And I was like, I was cleaning out my office and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I found this. It was on my where my keyboard would go if I had a PC, but I just use that as like a bookshelf. And yeah, cleaning out and I found that and I was like, how cool. We still have proof, we were working together on that. You came over that day and I was like, man, I don't know. This is a major task because I've made videos about the firmament and sometimes I tie things together, but that was a lot. And I mean, that went into why they lie, who they are,
Yeah.
the shape of the world, the firmament, the deceptions. Like it covers everything. So that'll be the grand finale video. A lot of you guys have seen it if you've been here for any amount of time. Some of you have been here since the beginning. I think it's been about 7 years now since we put out our first video on this channel. And the reason behind this channel, if you're not familiar with that, there's a lot of reasons, but one of those is out of rebellion. I got in trouble at work for having my face in the video in YouTube videos with a channel that had about 25 subscribers and talking about the biblical earth and the firmament and evolution and all that. And so while being a science teacher, that's frowned upon. And so I was angry, and just in a day, I think I just created this channel. I took a channel that I'd already had that I planned on using for something else and just changed the name of it. And I uploaded our best NASA fails videos, which we're about to play. And that was our first one where we compiled all the proofs of the deception. Because as a truth seeker, many of you get angry at how we've been lied to. And so with that anger and seeing all of us being lied to, I'm like, we got to expose these people. So that was our goal, was to put that video out there. And I put it on this channel, not knowing what would happen. And the Father just really opened the floodgates with the people getting to see this. This was just going worldwide. I was looking at back then you could pull up a map of the world and it would show you where it was going. And it was going all around the world. And I was so blown away by that impact, seeing people from everywhere being reached. Because when you wake up, the first thing you want to do is like share these things with people, and you don't know where to start. It's like, do I start a church? What do we do? And I'm blessed that He guided us this direction, because it's reached far more people than if we had just confined ourselves to a building somewhere and tried to share these things.
Yeah, for sure.
So definitely quite the journey. There's a lot of miracles involved too, and a lot of answered prayers. If there wasn't answered prayers, we would not be here. Like the Father's ability to answer our prayers and extend that mercy towards us when we don't deserve it has brought us where we are. Looking through the comments here, we got a lot of cool people. Dennis and Debbie, Country Fun. Who we got? GR Cleve, the glory of y'all's creation. Wendy. Lots of awesome people. We got Hunter. Hunter is in the house. Of course, Tyler Porter. Most awesome people in the world. Country Dad. Lots of awesome people. So yeah, this is going to be one of those things where we play the videos. We'll come back. We might talk about them a little. And again, if they're too low quality and it's not working and you guys are like, hey, the audio is horrible, it's too bad, then we'll just hang out. I want this to be a fun event. And again, I'll come back and timestamp everything so you guys can find it. And so the first video that we're going to show is the best NASA fails. It's our most viewed video.
Yeah.
It's got over 500,000. I've seen people share this. It was the Y-Files guy that's got a big channel. He was sharing it on his channel one day. I thought, wow, that is so awesome. We're reaching people with these massive followings that are very close. They're into like sort of the conspiracy stuff. And you could see him starting to see the firmament stuff at the end and saying, that's interesting. And I was just praying that somebody like him would come to that truth of the firmament, what's above us, who's above us, how close he is. And so pray for those people, the ones that are seeing these things. And we thank you guys, those of you who have shared these things along the way. All right. Got it. So yeah, we are going to the way I'm going to do this is a little different. I'm going to have this first video, the best NASA fails, is from a file, so it'll play with better quality, and our grand finale video will be a file, so it'll play better. The other ones in between, you'll hear the audio and you'll see some of the imagery. I can't guarantee it's going to be that great with the video quality, but yeah, I would thank you guys for joining us. I'm set up. I'm ready to stay here for several hours. I know my brother here, he can hang around for a while, answer questions, hang out, maybe towards the end have some call-ins or something.
Yeah, and I think it's time for a new NASA Fells video, bro. I think we got too many additional NASA Fells have been discovered in the past just
Yeah.
4 years, and I think we could really make a good to the point, maybe just a 15-20 minute video, but there's been so many new findings, I guess, with everybody looking.
Yeah, I found one yesterday, and I thought about doing a video. I was watching this. It's interesting the names they use for these things. I think it's Odysseus. It's always a false god from the past SpaceX thing that's going to the moon. This little lander, and I thought it was saying I am one Odysseus, like the Most High says, like I am one, but it's the letters I and M. I am one. But I was like, oh my goodness, these guys, they're saying I am one Odysseus, like they're really putting a play on those words there, and they're launching this thing. And I'm looking in the background and I see an airplane light, like a blinking light above, what would be like deep space. And I'm like, why is there a plane there near where this lander is, if they're a couple hundred miles up there? So I wanted to do a video about that, but I'm like, man, there's just so much more deceptions out there. And so right now it's like our shift, you've seen it kind of change throughout time, where it was fake space, biblical earth, the firmament, and then just biblical things. And it's like so it's all kind of coming together and intertwined. So you're starting to see more of the why they lie aspects with the spiritual side. So you got anything to share? I didn't know if I cut you off, Michael, about the
no
final card or something.
No, I think it's interesting though how much new information has come to light in the past few years, and we kind of hit a topic and leave it, but sometimes I think maybe we do need to go back and make something that's from a new perspective. There's so many things we've added, kind of a small feature film documentary, kind of something else you could share, and I thought when we made the final card, it had a lot of the alien deception, but I think maybe we need one that's just the biblical earth, for educational purposes kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm blessed to hear that, Kenny. That don't be Helio. Yeah, the short videos, those things are powerful. The short videos in this generation of it, because once you start watching short videos, it's hard to go back to long videos.
Yeah.
And I find myself having that problem. Once I started watching the YouTube shorts and the reels and the way they do that, it's like, man, watching the 30-minute video is tough now. You have to really
and
break
I had
it
a
down.
good friend who was like really questioning flat earth and kind of upset about it. And I said, look, here's a video. And I sent him a link to the final card. And he kept going back and forth with me. But when I sent him the link, he said, I'm not going to watch a 45-minute video.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's all
Send it to
there.
them in 1-minute shorts. There's people that have taken that video and put it on TikTok and broke it down into like part 1, part 2, back when it was 1 minute only. That was the limit. So yeah, we got somebody, they said, Summer Chick, first time here. Wow. Awesome.
Oh, welcome. Yeah. Guys, we take for granted that there are people who are just waking up. And I think that is so amazing to think, man, we've been at this for 7 years, and there are people who this just happened to them today or yesterday. And so they're sitting there with the same feeling we had. So find those people and let's bring them into our family so they can have somebody to talk to. Cause we were so isolated in the beginning. It was like just me and Josh talking about it. And it's like, you can't share it with friends and coworkers the way you'd want to, so finding those opportunities to get together.
Yeah. It can be lonely. It can be a lonely experience until you really have to go out on platforms like this, there's apps now, you got the Flat Earth Sun and Moon app. But yeah, there's ways to get out there and meet people. And yeah, we're seeing there's a lot of people that are brand new to this. Every time we go to a meetup, there's people that are like, man, and you never know what's going to wake somebody up. You guys that are out there planting seeds, you never know what you're going to share that's going to change somebody's life. And so that's a lot of you, that's part of your ministry. You're sharing stuff. And I see you guys, the way you do things, even the memes you make and share, that get the wheels turning with people.
Yeah. And are we going to be doing any meetups anytime soon?
Yeah, I'm wanting to plan one for March. I don't have a location set. I tried to do one recently, and none of the places we usually book were available. And so, yeah, we are hoping to have one in March. The weather hopefully will be warmer, and we can find a place, maybe a different place altogether. I love when it's this massive crowd of good people. It's such a good feeling being around humble, like-minded people.
I really like the camp out we did at Harrison Bay. That was a cool little venue.
Yeah, I would like something like that, but with more space. I felt like you can't really park cars there, and
Yeah.
that the security was like on high alert, like we were going to try and like terrorize the place. You know, they were proud to have their little security badges. They screamed at Mikey Jenny, and I was like, "Hey, buddy, calm down. You don't know Mikey Jenny's a legend here." Oh, what I was going to say, I almost forgot. My brother has another channel separate from this. That's why his background, Grace and Truth Fellowship, he has that. It's a channel where he was putting up biblical videos to kind of separate it from a lot of the biblical earth stuff. There was a big stigma back then, so he just kind of put that there for the biblical videos. And he hasn't done videos in a while. He kind of outworked himself and has had a lot of crazy stuff going on. Busy pace.
I am getting settled back in though. I'm setting up an office now, so we'll be able to do more lives, testimonies. If you guys want to share your testimony, I'm really feeling led I think God wants us to share our testimonies with other people. And I think that's something to me that's a missing part of, on Grace and Truth. I do want to start hosting people. So if you do have something you want to share, you guys can email us and let us know. And anything you send Josh, he'll share it with me if it's something we're able to share, because we are trying to hit the ground running right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is a marathon. And so I want to hopefully start with, if I can find the right video. I don't want to pull up our intro again. Someone said sub for ages. First live. Awesome. We're trying to go live more. I'm wanting to do our word studies. I'm calling them Wordaholics Anonymous live word studies, where we study things out. Got a good one coming up, looking at the words of the Messiah. I haven't created it yet, but I have most of the notes and things that you guys have been sharing in regard to the controversial topic of the little season. So I want to look at the words that the beloved son spoke. Those are important. So we'll be doing that soon. So if you are new to this channel, hit that notification button and come in and check it. Make sure it's still selected throughout time. For whatever reason, it gets deselected or unselected. So yeah, make sure you're doing that.
You may even get unsubscribed. We've had a lot of that happening too.
Yeah. Happens to the channels that I really like. I feel like they just fall off the edge of the earth, and nope, they're still there doing videos. I just was not notified. And so it's interesting because sometimes I'll get notifications and I'm not even subscribed to the channel. I'm like, how am I getting notified about this? I'm not even subscribed. Google has launched Gemini Pro. Okay. So, all right, let me see if I can pull up the video. I wish it showed me the title to what these things are below. I might pull up our intro again, but we shall see. So without further ado, here is our very first ever video on this channel, the best NASA fails. And so there's a lot more, like Michael was saying, that has happened since then. And so I hope this plays. If this is the intro, I'll pull it right back down and bring this back up. I can't really tell what it is in the studio. So here we go.
Hi, I'm Noah. I'm in second grade. Could you throw a somersault right now?
Low Earth orbit is between 99 miles and 1,200 miles away. The moon is claimed to be 238,000 miles away. That's a big difference.
This is the spacecraft that's going to take humans to explore the solar system. It's the next big step for NASA in exploration.
Called the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, this next-generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually. The moon, Mars, the moon.
Kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
A set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
It was all recorded on these telemetry tapes. So where is this hard evidence?
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
Could this be true? Mankind's first interplanetary exploration and the original science data is missing?
11, this is Houston, radio check, over.
If it's anywhere, it should be here at NASA's Goddard Space Center in Maryland, home to the National Space Science Data Archives.
This film you're making now, what is it?
This is a film trying to prove that Apollo 11 happened.
Does it have a name? I mean, do you have a name for it yet,
I think you're calling it "Did We Go?"
Did we go? Okay.
Doesn't have it either. The Smithsonian doesn't have it. Johnson doesn't have it.
Right. We've been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
Closer look at the supposed two images provided from NASA of Jupiter. Here's the problem again, 2016, 2014. What's the difference here? Well, the difference is they added the supposed auroras on the north, and this is nothing but a Christmas tree. Give me a break, take a look here. I mean, all the clouds are in the same exact position. Just the 2016 image is a bit, I would say, darker. It's a bit lighter in 2014. Here's a side by side. People can't see what's taking place here with NASA. Nothing more than fakery. I mean, give me a break. This is a complete insult. You have a brain in your head.
So I keep digging a little bit deeper, and I finally get underneath this cloud cover here, and a few images pop up. And I say, oh, images, what are they? Well, this is what you got, which I'm sure that looks familiar to you, right? Looks just like the pictures they give us of Mars. So I'm just kind of creeping around here and definitely noticing the same kind of undulation changes and same kind of rock, same kind of dirt. The only thing that's missing is that nice little red tint that they pay somebody $150,000 a year to put on there, right? Whose orange Hummer is this? Okay, that looks like a NASA symbol. Well, let's dig a little further because I can't really see anything on here other than it certainly looks like a NASA symbol. And I can't read that. Tried. Cameras set up, tents, ATVs, food. They've been there a while. It's not a one-day trip. Antenna set up out in the middle of nowhere in Greenland. Another ATV, a leveler equipment. So I'll keep kind of going through here and see if it. What the? Yeah. So I think I found out where Mars is, guys. It's just about 1,000 miles north of me. Not quite the distance that NASA says, but I can't find anybody who's in charge of this. They must be hiding behind these rocks. Oh no, there they are out in front of everybody, standing there. Lovely. Cloud number 1, cloud number 2, cloud number 3. This thing's just driving around taking pictures.
Simmons' job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, looks kind of flat, looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
English in reading too much, but I've since grown out of that and I enjoy reading now. And I played a lot of sports. And all of that happened in a little town called York, Maine, across the United States from where we're talking to you right now. Across the United States from where we're talking to you right now. Across the United States from where we're talking to you right now.
And let's enlist the help of a friend, Paxi. You might know her.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't figure out by now, I'm going to be the first man to actually tell you this, that teleportation is officially real. We are live in the ISS, and let's go back and relook at that clip again. You see? Now watch. Oh, wait. See, this, ladies and gentlemen, should let you know that this is only done through the usage of chroma key. This is chroma key technology. This is green screen or blue screen technology. That's what is being utilized here. This is simply virtual reality that is actually being fed to you, and you're taking this virtual reality, making it the reality. When in fact, all this is simply just virtual CGI, computer-generated images. So you decide for yourself. If we have the technology to build the space station and have people go and live in the space station for months and months at a time, and they are there constantly reporting back to Earth the things that they are finding there, then the question is, why go through all this trouble as far as faking the space station itself? Why go through the trouble of faking these people in space who are supposed to be the astronauts who are in space and have their arms disappear from a screen just like that? Why have that? Why go through all that trouble?
So this video is an astronaut explaining the mission. It's not like practice footage or anything. Watch closely.
Our Dan sat in the pilot seat during this operation, sort of monitoring the motion of the vehicle, making sure that it was steady and that there were very few vibrations of any sort. This is a picture of the INSAT actually being deployed from the spacecraft. You can see that the deploy went very smoothly. At the moment of...
Did you see it? In the background? There was a guy in the background, man. I'm not kidding you. You can't deny that that's someone in the background. There's a guy moving in the background. Here, watch it again. Watch it closely. I looked up, or I tried to look up the size of this rocket. I found this picture. You can see it's massive. So if that rocket is in space and if there's a guy in the background in that footage, that means that there are like giants, like insane big giants floating around in space looking at NASA. That's probably why they don't dare to go back to the moon and why they hide so much stuff. Space is full of giants.
Ed White is flying at 17,000 miles per hour, 200 miles above the Earth.
Okay, I'm out.
If the spacesuit fails, the difference in pressure will kill him instantly.
This could be a serious problem because you don't want your stop-motion toy to die in space.
As White floats in space, a glove drifts out of the capsule.
Oh, so a garden glove floating off makes it real? You're telling me there's an astronaut in space with no glove and a bare hand exposed? And what blew it away? The wind?
Today, those pictures are classic. They're still overpowering today to realize, number one, it's been done, and that we did it. It blew me away.
How easy it was to deceive everyone. It was quite easy, actually.
We all know NASA uses wires, and sometimes they'll catch them like this here. The guy pulled on his wire. However, some days when you're filming live, things just don't work out, and it becomes so blatantly obvious, it's ridiculous. So, in this clip, they're talking, live feed, and wouldn't you know, we have a astronaut go by us in the background, obviously trying to give it a more realistic, spacey, station busy effect. The only problem is the camera that was supposed to mask this harness out, or the video feed, is not working. And so we see the guy come flying along in a harness on his wires. Pretty amazing. But that's not all that goes wrong here. Channel in 3D space. It's virtual reality. They're wearing augmented contact lenses so that they can interact with these 3D objects. Now, in this scene, the guy on the left in the green shirt, he thinks he sees an object in 3D space that's being broadcast to him. So he grabs it and he puts it off to the side. He's looking straight ahead because he's looking at an object rotating in front of him, but the video channel is down that is supposed to show the viewers what we're supposed to see, and so we don't actually get to see the object that he is seeing. And I would just sum this up as a very terrible, bad, horrible day for NASA doing live feeds. As much fun as this was, there is a time coming when you and I will not be able to tell the difference.
I know what you're thinking. So, NASA is fake, big deal. How does this affect me? Blah, blah, blah. Or you're thinking, no, there's no way my heroes could be lying to me. There's no way that this whole world is in on this big scam. This is just too much. And that's what I would have thought too. But here is what they are hiding and why NASA formed in the first place. Pay attention.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world. A number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, at the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. You know, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration, far-flung places, once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies. And it's the most peaceful place in the world.
Well, I'm sure that won't last very long.
What are the natural resources there? Well, we've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter.
Well,
it was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
is it any secret, is there uranium there? That would be the only thing that would be practical to actually go after, I suppose. Everything else would be economically unfeasible, wouldn't it?
Well, as we recklessly expend our resources, the time will come when we'll have to go after that stuff down there.
Well, Admiral Byrd, are private expeditions a thing of the past? Is expedition and exploration, making expedition and exploration now purely a government function because of the tremendous cost and organization?
No, I don't think so. I think down south it may be more or less a thing of the past, but not other expeditions that go. There's a lot of them go north now. The North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau 10,000 feet high.
There we go. Can you guys hear us now? I always start out muted.
Muted.
I do that almost every live stream. Yeah, you guys need to learn to read lips. Make it a lot easier. Yeah, that's a journey back in time. That seems like forever ago when I put all those things together. And a lot of things have changed since then. And several of the voices of the people in those videos have since passed on. It's extremely heartbreaking. Rob Skiba, Mike Helmick, the one talking about the wire harness, kind of not being masked out. He's one that really helped open my eyes to how they fake it. He was a person who had skills in the video editing world where he could make things like that and do those masking effects. And so he was breaking it down, and he was a godsend for sure. And I had the pleasure of doing a hangout with him, golly, way back when, probably around 2017, 2018. And he was just such a humble guy. I really liked. I was starstruck talking to him because I was like, man, this is Mike Helmick. I love this guy. I love his work. And he joined in. It wasn't on our channel. It was another channel. And he just shared so much wisdom. I really, really love that guy a lot. And he passed away a couple years ago, and I didn't even know until like a year after it had happened. And so I'd like to check in on his wife and see how she's doing. They were both uprooting, and he was going to start going to Bible college. He felt led to do that. And it's just sad that he passed away in the middle of his ministry. I mean, he was still uploading live ministry videos constantly on a weekly basis. And so he worked and fought right up until the very end. So I miss good old Mike Helmick. I'm wanting to do. I was telling my brother, I was on the phone with him while we were watching that, and that we need to do I've been wanting to also do like a classic rewind where we go back and talk to all the people from the early days that we were sharing their work. Because you saw that was just a compilation. That wasn't all my work. That was me putting together everything that we had seen. And while we could find it, I didn't realize censorship was going to do what it did. And so I'm thankful it was put on my heart to do all that and put it together. That video was originally on my old channel, the one that got me in trouble. And so I just literally put it on this channel again, out of rebellion for getting in trouble at work. And so we were anonymous for a while, and I would have my voice in videos, but eventually we just got to the point where we were like, you know what? Who cares? We're in these times where we need to quit hiding. And me and Michael were doing a live stream with David Beverly, Jesus Freak Computer Geek. And he's like, I can't tell your voices apart. He's like, just show your face. And we did. And then a couple weeks later, what happened, Michael?
Yeah, we got called in again.
Together this time.
Funny though. Yeah, they called us both in the second time, and we converted both assistant principals to Flat Earth within about 20 minutes of talking to them, I think.
Yeah, it looked like they were converted, but they didn't want to say anything. Their eyes
it was like
bigger.
They brought us in there going, is this a joke? Are they kidding with me? You know, they called central office saying that teachers believe Flat Earth, and after, I mean, it was one of those. We gave them the quick run through, but both of them were Christians. So I think the biblical aspect always helps when you're talking to somebody, and most people claim to be Christians and believe the Bible. And if you push them to that test and say, hey, do you really believe that the earth is what Genesis says? And if you go to Genesis with a different look, and somebody says it talks about a firmament, it amazed me how long in all of our lives we can read the book of Genesis and gloss over that part, or go past where the sun was told to stop in the sky, or the stars will fall to earth like, figs from a tree. We read that stuff and we don't think, what are the implications of that? And I think that's where most people are. We just kind of read it and go, it must fit the globe somehow. It must fit our cosmology somehow.
Yeah, the mixing, taking a lot of ministries and world teachings are based on a little bit of truth and then twisting it, mixing it with the lies. So yeah, funny times. It was much more fun getting in trouble when you had someone else there. I could have just said, it's all him. It's all this guy. Like we did growing up. Every time I got into trouble, I was the sneaky one. I'd be like, it was Michael. I think some of my first words were, Michael did it.
Yeah. It's funny. I think at first we were so afraid to get in trouble at work, but it's funny how God opens you up. And it's like, if you're standing on the truth, you're going to be persecuted. But it's like, also, we work really hard as teachers, all the planning and all the things we do to still be broke. It's like, if they're going to fire us over this, we're really not losing much.
Yeah.
Go work at Home Depot and make the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I've been called down to the office 3 times now. First time by myself, second time me and him together, third time at a new job.
Yeah. And you started working.
Yeah, none of those 3 times involved what I was doing in the classroom. It was never like, hey, you're teaching this. And so that's where it's a level of discrimination and a bias where if I was teaching deep space fantasy, ancient aliens, whatever, I would never get called down. But we start talking about the biblical model on the internet, we get in trouble. That shows you the spiritual warfare aspect of this. And every time it's always somebody called or somebody brought it to our attention. None of the parents of my students have ever said anything to me. None of my students has ever came to me and said, hey, our parents found you on YouTube. It's usually the haters that are stalking us, finding out where we live, finding out where we work, talking to our employers. It's never something from just a happenstance. Like this last time, somebody found my book as if it's like some bestseller. And it's like they found it in the library. No, like this
There's
was
100
somebody
copies.
calling. Yeah, like none of my kids ever said, hey, my dad found your book. You know, if they found it, wow, that's a miracle. I work out in the middle of nowhere.
And
So,
some
yeah,
of our
that's-
students have found this channel and they love it. They subscribe to it. They talk about, you know, it's not like.
Yeah, I've
They're-
had former students. We've had a former student that comes on here and he makes videos now. He's wanting to do a podcast with us, and he's got really good video making skills. He's been blessed, and so it'd be cool to have him on. He's a former student. He's like, oh my gosh, it's Coach Keefe. It's the Keefes. There they are. But yeah, so that was our best NASA fails. When I pull up the next videos, they're not going to be playing as smoothly, most likely, because they're going to be from a presentation. I have them in a Google Slides format, so I can just click next. I'm not having to go to YouTube and ads play. I was afraid of ads playing out. So when I gave it a trial run yesterday, it plays the videos from the slide presentation without showing ads. So that'll make it easier for you guys to watch. And I know you guys get frustrated with ads when you're watching our videos. It's not us. Most of the time, YouTube, they run ads on any video now. You don't have to be monetized. And so they can choose the ad placement and do those things. And so I'm finding out I have to go back in and manually remove where they've put these ads sometimes, especially with our live videos. So if you're ever watching one of our longer live videos and you see that, let me know if you're having ads pop up every 10 minutes because they put them in there everywhere. That's not our doing if it's happening that way. So just let me know. Some of you have. I appreciate that. So that was our best NASA fails. There's a couple more fake space videos. I may just show one of them. I don't want to overload you with that. But it's to show you some of the newer things. We recycle a lot of things, and people in the early days would get mad that I would put some of the same things in there. But back then, when you would put something out there, you didn't know who it was going to reach. And if they had seen your first video, the whole goal was to wake up a new audience, to wake up a new person, to give you something you can share. And so, yeah, we did recycle a lot of the same types of fails, but it's the best ones and putting them together in different ways, shorter ways. And, that was a longer 30-minute video that we just watched. So trying to be creative with the way we do these things. So, yeah, hopefully this next one will play smoothly. If it's not playing smoothly on your end, just let us know and we'll come back. We'll reconvene and just start sharing our testimonies and talking to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and try to pull this up. There's the reach we've been blessed to have. I remember when it broke 1 million, it was like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. And just being so blessed to see that growth. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Oh yeah, I forget that I'm sharing it a little differently. And the next slide should be another fake space video, and then it's going to work its way to where we're going through the biblical earth stuff, the firmament, and then we'll end with the grand finale, the good old final card. Let me see if I can get this playing. And this one here, this will have some of the same ones, but this is my commentary. Some of the best fake space fails all in one video. The ones that haven't been disproven, the ones that you can't debunk where they've actually been caught red-handed. And there's no one out there addressing these. The big time people, the debunkers, I like to call them, that go out there and just attack biblical earth creationist. And so I'm going to play this video and hope that it works on your end. So let us know. I'll remove us. I'll go ahead and remove us now. Finding out that you've been lied to on a large scale is a very humbling experience. To think that you could have been deceived, similar to a child believing in Santa Claus. Why would they lie about Santa? And why would they lie and pretend to be going to space
and putting us on a fake cartoon ball? It's a really good question, but what I'm going to address today is just the obvious and undeniable proof that we've been lied to. It's been a while since I've put together a compilation of all of the fraud in space, and I'm not going in any particular order, and I will show only the ones that have not been disproven, because there's no way to argue your way out of these guys being deceivers and using tricks to deceive all of us. They don't always get caught, but sometimes like this, where you have Don Pettit pretending to drink coffee out of his homemade container that is spill-proof due to the properties of water and the angles of this cup that he has made. His engineering skills are being shown off, but what happens is the coffee comes out of the container, but not in a natural way. It literally shoots straight through the plastic and turns into a computer animated square, just like it is a computer animation, virtual augmented reality. And that's what he has, and he's showing it off. Luckily, thanks to the Father, sometimes these deceivers get caught, and those who have eyes can see the deception. That is not possible with any other technology than multi-layered virtual reality. They have unlimited resources to pull this stuff off. It's not extremely hard to do. It is difficult, but they have more money than Hollywood. Now, this next one, this one's kind of funny because Mr. Hatfield over here, he's one of their favorite people to put in front of the camera because he's very charismatic. But on this day, when he was showing off his singing skills, the microphone does something special. It literally penetrates his head, his ear, and eventually his throat and his face. And you can't make this up. It's just that multi-layered technology malfunctioning, and the microphone is literally sticking out of his neck, as you can see here. You can't un-CGI your way out of this when you're doing it live. This is live, and so you have someone talking into his ear and telling him, hey buddy, you probably need to pull your head away because there's a mic sticking into your neck. And so that's what he does. In the middle of his song, he's just started this song, he pulls away. And then they cut to the damage control room like they always do. And you have the man over here taking pictures who realizes this. He's probably zoomed way in on the screen. And then he puts his camera down and makes the face of like, oh no, this isn't good. Look at that face. And so he wants to take another picture, but he does the right thing and avoids losing his job and his life. But those are just two little computer animation fails. This next one is one of my all-time favorites. It's our first time seeing the stars from space. This was taken before NASA started faking space. This was the U.S. Air Force. And it's probably why they decided to just devote a branch to focusing on faking of space. Because here's the footage taken from the capsule, or so they told us. And there's the moon, the Milky Way galaxy at the bottom. You can see the moon here. And I'm sorry to laugh. Some of you may believe this is real. And, you know, I really hope that you'll just take a closer look at it. I don't know what to tell you. I've had people claim it's real. It's okay. If you think this is real, you just might want to go get your eyes checked. Because to me, this looks like they stole some kid's light bright and just had their way with it. There is literally a star inside the crescent shape of the moon. Looks like a face when you turn it the other direction. It's pathetic. So that was the early days of fake space, and it's probably why on the moon missions they just did not show us any stars, or anytime you see anything like a picture of a planet or Earth, there's never any stars involved, even though we can go outside and take a picture of the moon and have stars in the background. Now, for those of you who don't believe that this is fake, you can read the article yourself. This is from the British Faith, a news organization, and they say that the shot of the starry sky, including the moon, was taken from the capsule. That's their claim. You can look at it again and see if that's what you think. Maybe that's what the firmament really looks like, and that's what they're hiding. But I believe it's deception. Now, flash forward. After the Apollo missions, they were doing tons of these missions called the SDS missions, where they were taking that airplane up to space and doing lots of satellite launches and different studies. And it was a lot easier because they could just come back and land at a little runway. And they were doing this all the time, like clockwork. So there's lots of those missions to look at. And with highlight tapes, which is what they showed us, it's a lot easier to pull off some tricks because you're only showing the good stuff that doesn't malfunction. But sometimes someone doesn't get the memo that there is an obvious fail in the picture or in the video. And in this case, the string that is lifting up this satellite that they're pretending to just shoot out into deep space becomes visible for a brief moment. Back in the day, we didn't catch this because we didn't have internet. We couldn't replay it. Now we do. And now it's kind of like, you know, Santa Claus's beard getting pulled off. You have to realize you're being lied to. These people looking out the window, pretending to carry out these missions are actors. They're some of the happiest people on earth, even though you can put somebody like me in an airplane, and I love to fly, for about 15 hours. I'm no longer happy. These people are in there for, you know, nowadays, like a year. And they're just perfectly smiling, happy people. They don't go crazy at all. I would go insane. And floating around is like, oh, that's what makes them happy. But these people, lots of missions, and they are pretty much, to me, discredited because they've been caught lying. If they were lying with one of these launches, chances are the other ones were the same type of situation, maybe a little better carried out to where they didn't malfunction. But then we have more multi-layered fails as we come nearer to the present. And you have these guys here waving goodbye at the end of their perfect live event. Everything went great, looked like they were in space, but then they were exposed when this glitch happens and only the moving objects are seen swirling into oblivion. These guys almost got away with it. And like Mike Helmick said, there's a time coming when we will not be able to tell the difference in these guys faking space, or is it reality? We won't be able to tell. And this is one of those situations where it really looks like they're in a room, but those moving objects tell a different story. And when this happens, you've never seen this happen anywhere but in fake space. This is ridiculous too. All this stuff is ridiculous. Like I said, I'm only showing the obvious fails for people who think we are crazy and making this up. We're not. Now, this is one that's controversial a little bit because many say this is not bubbles in space, it's something else. But the problem is an object in motion in a vacuum and microgravity would go in the same direction. It would not go in a curved path. And you see lots of times, whatever this is shooting out, the people at NASA had no clue what it was. The astronaut said he couldn't even see it, but these things were shooting out at a rapid rate. If it was water like they thought it might be, that's a need to panic when your environment is 200 miles above Earth and there's no way to get you fresh water. Once you run out, it's gone. And this looks like gallons upon gallons just pouring out. So whether or not it's bubbles or water, it's a big deal. And they don't seem to really care, and they just carry on the mission when this is actually a life or death situation because they have a limited supply of everything. But there you go. You can see it everywhere. Tons and tons of bubbles or water. It's definitely not what Scott Kelly said, the flakes of paint, because of the rough environment of space. The whole spaceship would be gone in a week if that's flakes of paint like he said. Now, this one, very interesting. You're watching one of their mini satellite launches. Of course, they were faking it in the 80s. Maybe now we have the technology, but you look in and you can see that their chroma key effects malfunction and the panels on this satellite vanish. This is more recent. You know, this is probably within the last 10 years or so. Can't remember the exact date of this. Definitely not the 80s. Using different technology. Probably no strings attached here. This is 100% green screen or whatever they're doing. Looks real, but thankfully, like I said earlier, they do get caught and they switch to the damage control room every time. And usually you'll have a guy with a camera walking around taking pictures. And like this guy, sometimes they just don't take pictures. They just walk in, pretend they're taking pictures, walk right back out. So every day is a very big event there. Lots of science going on. Billions of our dollars going there. and somehow they're able to invest that into t-shirts and all sorts of other business adventures and make money and keep the money and keep the profit. But here is something I came across the other day. This is really recent. This is like from this decade. And you see here, this is supposedly deep space. Look in the background. Where did they go? Did they accidentally go over Antarctica? This looks like tons and tons of bubbles. Or it could be water, ice, something like that. There is a lot of this stuff moving from all different directions. This is insane. I've never seen this much debris in space. This seems like it could be dangerous, but some of these, like the other footage, are not moving in a straight line. Like you can see, there's a little orb right here, and it moves in a curved path. This thing is definitely going in a curved path in a different direction. I've adjusted the brightness so you can see these better, but this is crazy. I've never seen so much of these bubbles or ice or whatever this is in space. This really does just look like some sort of snowstorm, as if they're not even in any kind of space environment like we've been told whatsoever, and occasionally they run into this stuff. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words because some of this stuff is coming from a direction where there is no ISS. It's coming from top of the screen, bottom of the screen, side of the screen. It's moving in different directions, meaning there has to be some sort of atmosphere or water involved for these things to get blown in a curved path. Otherwise, they would stay in their exact same motion. It's not really rocket science. I used to think that was a big deal, rocket science, but that's compartmentalized itself. Now, other than that, there are countless other times where they've been caught and they've had things happen to where, let's just say, wire harnesses have been exposed, or maybe their virtual reality toy vanishes and they grab at nothing. Lots of other things that people can try to dismiss and make excuses for, but there's only so many excuses we can make. And like you've seen here, tons and tons of obvious deception. Do they always get caught? Not really. They've actually done a really good job of carrying on such a lie for so many decades. It's been going on for a while. Before I was born and before many of you were born, they were doing this stuff with all the resources they need, and it's worth all the money in the world to them and all the resources to hide the truth, because that's what it boils down to. Understanding who we are, who made us, and what we live on has to remain hidden for their power structure and future deceptions to work. It all falls apart when we understand who we are, the beloved creations of the Most High, and that grace that for whatever reason seems so dangerous that it has to be banned, teaching it in many places, believing that you are loved and that you should forgive others and pray for your enemy, that's dangerous. They don't ban other books that talk about all sorts of crazy things and violence, but they ban ours. And that book tells us what we live on, how it was made, who made it, and exactly what's in store for us in the future. So that's just a little sample of some of the heavy hitters. I wanted to put that out there to cover this in detail, some of the major ones for those of you who are trying to wake people up. You're doing a great job. I'm having so many people come to us, even in times of a shadow ban, and say, wow, this is something I've never seen before. You know, someone sent this to me in an email, or someone shared this in a private message, and now I'm looking into this for the first time. It is making a difference, a little slower than it was before, but it's time that we accept the truth and that love and forgiveness that this world is hiding, and spread the truth no matter what the cost. You guys are awesome. I love you all. The Father loves you. Take care, and God bless.
All right. That was my version of all the best ones that they have out there. Make sure I have my audio on. Can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I got you. I
Okay.
turned it on this time.
Loud and clear. Good. Everything is nominal. Like using the space language. So yeah. Interesting. Some of those things, man. It's like, how did we not see what was right in front of our eyes?
Yeah, it's amazing when you're not looking for something, how you just don't see it. I mean, I've seen some of those videos before we were awake and never even thought to look for mistakes or mishaps. It was just kind of always our dream to go into zero gravity. It just seemed like a real plausible thing to do.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, man, a fantasy that we had to let go of. It was hard to let go of that fantasy. I remember showing my favorite movie at the time was The Martian when I woke up. It's weird that my favorite movie was about space. I really love that movie. The Martian and Gattaca, those two I would show to my classes. And Gattaca, if you haven't seen it, man, it's like it came true with the recent events in our history. Don't want to talk about them on here. They'll delete the video really quickly for misinformation. But Gattaca, it's basically, it's a type of prejudice against people who aren't GMO. They weren't created naturally. They had their genes modified before conception or after conception. Really, they were modifying embryos. So that's the whole point of the movie, is showing the discrimination against people who aren't genetically modified. So now we're seeing that again. But yeah, those two were my favorite films to show. We would show the Martian movie, and then we would do these little experiments like survival, see if they can critically think and problem solve with similar situations where you're having to accomplish the task with minimal resources. And we had fun with it. And so yeah, that was my favorite video. And it's like, man, I wanted to go to Mars. And I remember thinking, what if Jesus returns and I'm on Mars. What's going to happen?
Well, there's still people training to go to Mars right now. Like, they're on these facilities, and they think that there's a chance they could go. They were doing it in Hawaii, I think, at some point. Different places they feel are Mars-like.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be shot here on Earth if they do it, if they have time to pull that off. There's our dad. He may well, actually, no, he's busy today. I wanted him to join in at some point and talk about the message. Say a really cool thing that was revealed to him back in 2005 in the Word. And so hopefully we can have him on again to summarize that in a way that's clear and concise. I feel like when you get excited about something, you go all over the place. You just start getting, you almost, it's hard to cover things in a clear, understandable way. So hopefully we could devote some time to doing that. A lot of you guys have met our dad. If you've been to he actually spoke about that at our big meetup we had. So yeah, my dad used to work on F-16s. He was in the Air Force.
Yeah, he was one of those people who had to calculate for curvature when they were flying off.
Yeah, I remember him telling us how planes work, how they, went up, how they lowered what they had to adjust, the rudders and all these different parts. He's like, this makes it go up, this makes it go down. And he's explaining all these parts on the F-16. And never once did I think about, how do they factor in curve? Because these things are flying. They would fly over our house all the time. And you would always, no matter where we were, we would stop and watch these things. They were so loud. The little chandelier in our old house would like shake. We had one of these. We lived in this like old farmhouse, and I'll never forget things like shaking. You could feel everything vibrating when they would fly overhead. And I would always think that my dad would sometimes be in those planes. So we'd be waving at every plane that went by. And one time he did. He's like, wave at us. We'll see you in the field. So we stood out in the field because he was flying over in a plane, and we were waving at every plane and hoping to see him. He's been all around the world, Korea and back. He's been everywhere. Yeah, he's not prepared. But yeah, we'll have to sit down and do that soon. Good old dad. Blessed with a good one. Okay, so that was the NASA Fells. I'm going to skip our next NASA Fells video. It's a lot of the same things and go straight to the Firmament. And there are some things in here that I've understood. Again, this was back in the rookie days when I was putting these things together, when it was just being revealed to me about where the firmament being above us, that it's actually there. And it's one of those answers to a prayer that I had when I was going outside. I was literally going out, and I had two powerful miracles happen back to back that showed me we have a creator who's listening to us. And I remember just being so humbled by that, because it was one of three really big miracles that had happened to me, that two of the three happened right back to back. And so I would go outside and I was praying, and my dad was waking up too, having this like spiritual, almost like rebirth, almost like you're being born again. I think you're just feeling this peace and this joy. And the Father's like giving you this comfort in these times of just what would normally be just distress, where I'd have been sad. And I was going out and looking up at the night sky, and I remember praying and feeling like he's trying to show me something and asking, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to show me? Over and over. And I was starting to get troubled because I felt this extreme closeness. And then I felt like he kind of like stood back and was like, all right, now seek a little more. And come on, you're starting to walk a little bit. Take your own steps now. And I remember just having this feeling like, what is it? What are you trying to show me? And so after about 2 days of that, I finally said, Father, I want you to show me the truth about creation and everything. I don't care how crazy it sounds. I'm ready. And I felt like that's what he was waiting for me to say was, I'm ready, no matter how crazy it sounds. And boy, did it sound crazy when he started showing me about the biblical earth model, the firmament. It was an overload. And some of you guys who are new to waking up understand what that feels like. It is an overload. I said I was ready. And when he showed it to me and the Holy Spirit was like, this is the truth, look into it. It was like, maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I spoke too soon. But it just captivated me and really brought me closer. Somebody who's already a believer. And people say, what does it matter? I was already a believer. I wanted to have a fire. I wanted to have a fire, but it took seeing how powerful the lies can be to really wake a lot of us up and bring us closer to him so that we could then share his truth of creation, which doesn't seem like, it seems like a divide or a distraction, but I've seen it do more good than harm. And I feel like the outpouring of his truth has just intensified or amplified since this truth has come about. And so that's how we started seeing the firmament. And after he showed us the firmament, he showed us that it was real, he started showing me footage of it. And it was stuff that was brought to my attention after reading the book of Enoch and seeing some of the descriptions they gave. And here again, I started praying. I said, Father, if you're showing me all this stuff, I just ask that you share, let it be seen, bring people this direction, and bless this stuff. And so we put out a firmament video, and Michael can account to this.
Yeah.
It started taking off, and I was just humbled. I woke up the next day after that little prayer and putting out the videos and just seeing subscriber after subscriber. Like, I couldn't get to the bottom of my email notifications from all the subscribers we had. And it got up to 250,000 views within a few days. And I was going, this is going to go like, this is worldwide. There's no way this is going to be stopped. Like, testimonies were pouring in, people were crying, and I was just so blessed. And I'm watching and I'm trying to comment and reply to all the comments. And I was just battling this uphill battle, trying to keep up to all the new questions popping in. And as I'm doing that, Michael sends me a text, or is it a text or something?
Yeah, the video had been deleted basically from your channel, or
blocked. You said it says it's blocked.
Yeah, it's no longer viewable.
So yeah, I went and I checked and I looked in the on my computer and pulled it up, and it said this video has been blocked due to the content owners, the people that filmed the footage of the firmament. And I thought I had modified it to block their censorship tactics and followed the Fair Use Act and all of that, but they blocked it, and it was gone for several years, or a couple years, maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. I don't know. It was for a while, and then it came back because I saw a comment and I was like, wait, that's our original video. How is the comment coming back? And the people that filmed it, Nova, which is a big time science channel, they pulled their footage from YouTube and set it to private or deleted it, something to where it removed the copyright claim. And so that original footage, their groundbreaking footage, has been hidden. And so we've got it here. I've got actually, am blessed that I have the original version saved on a separate hard drive, so I can work with that. But I've adjusted the brightness on it so you can see the firmament clearly. And so we're going to play that footage. Now, there was something in there where I misspoke. I was saying that the Book of Enoch was removed like in the 1500s. I was wrong on that. It was in the Ethiopian manuscripts or Bibles. They kept it in Ethiopia, but it was not in like the original King James. Like I was thinking that it was removed because it says the Apocrypha was removed. I don't think that was the case. Enoch wasn't in the original King James. So if you see something like that, it's not accurate. It's not up to date. That was my understanding 7 years ago, and it has changed quite a bit ever since. And so I'm going to pull that video up, the Firmament video. And like Michael's saying, we're overdue for new videos on these things. And so the Firmament's one of them. I've been feeling like putting together a real good one and making it be very clear and concise. I know there's some good ones out there as well, but I want to put one out there that's very powerful, to the point, and covers everything without any false teachings in there. So without further ado, I'm going to pull up the Firmament video. This thing has a lot of good things, declassified documents, and the footage in there lines up perfectly with the descriptions in Genesis and in Enoch. But Enoch was a key, the one that has the heliocentric prophecy right there about this deception that we're currently experiencing worldwide. It's mentioned in that book. And so it will help you understand what you're seeing and hopefully bring some clarity. So here is the Firmament video. I'm going to pull that up right now and try to play it and remove us from the chat or from the studio.
Another declassified CIA document. They're checking out the Firmament in this one, 1953 now. In the investigations, 2 instruments designed by V.G. Fezenkov were used. One of these was a visual photometer of the daytime sky intended for measuring the brightness of the firmament, and derived, get this now, on the assumption of a flat Earth. So the Russians are trying to check out the firmament based on assumptions of a flat Earth in 1957?
IBXM-33. Thor, launched by a pod-carrying Thor missile. Its yield was 1.4 megatons.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
Point Nemo. Nope, it's not in Antarctica. This spot lies more than 13,000 feet deep in the South Pacific Ocean and is further from land than any other point on Earth. And that's how Point Nemo has become the world's only spacecraft graveyard.
There it was, the firmament footage and some extra information to go along with it. See if I can, there it is. So yeah, that was, man, that was a journey, making that footage and watching it, and
yeah,
it just gets you emotional seeing it. And then hearing Rob's voice again, a lot of you were talking about that, man, that is, gosh, that's the first time I've had somebody that's like a YouTuber that I follow pass away. And it was like a death in the family. I was having a hard time functioning for a couple days and just still grieved for so long and still am. So yeah, that was, I want to have his wife and his son come on at some point when we start doing those rewind live streams where we're talking to people from the past, the people that helped really get this truth out there in the early days. And we're taking a lot of heat, Rob being one of them, having something to lose, already having a reputation.
He was the first one to really wake us up, I think, because you were listening to him before you really got into this. And I think he was the first person to ever bring this topic up in a biblical environment. You know, he was doing his teachings and he kind of woke up to it in real time.
Yeah, I was watching his journey, and it was at the point where he was being very skeptical. You know, he wasn't saying full out, this is what I am, but he was digging into it and looking at Bible verses that said it, and the way he presented it. That when I was watching his video on that was the video because it had the FE words in the title, and I remember thinking, why is he talking about it? Let me see why he's talking about this topic that just sounds like nonsense. And that was when I had that Holy Spirit confirmation of this is the truth. Look into it. Yeah. And so it was Rob Skiba's video, his approach, and he's the one the Father used to wake up so many of us. And so, yeah, rest in peace, man. We're going to be uniting very soon. That's what we're now talking about, is that excitement we all need to have and being ready, like Jesus and all the, the prophets were saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The day of the Lord is at hand. They were saying that hundreds of years before Christ, and he preached the same message. It's at hand. Be ready. It's going to be one of those things where once it happens, it's not going to be like, oh, there he is. Now let's just change the way we live. The adversaries of this world are preparing for a battle. They've got Operation Steadfast going on right now, or I think it's called Steadfast Defender, where all these nations are rehearsing a time where they're going to need to prepare for what they call a near-peer adversary or a near-peer threat. And so they're doing that in the Euro-Atlantic area. And when I looked up where that was, it's right there near Armageddon. And so they're preparing.
And we've got some interesting things. Josh was talking today about a possible outcome in that scenario. I don't know if you're comfortable discussing that now, but yeah, it brought up some interesting points about how we meet the Lord in the air, and they're planning for an enemy that's in the sky.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
It kind of goes along with the final card. The more I've been studying Revelation, the more I'm seeing that they're trying right now. The goal is to, even whether you believe in the little season narrative or you believe we're premillennial, the goal is to attack God Almighty. And right now, there's, they're preparing for this alien threat. Where do aliens come from? From above. Where are we going to meet in the air? Up above. So there's going to be a millennial reign for 1,000 years after that. But talk about deceiving the kings of the earth and them uniting for that one purpose. Right now, I was looking up, there was in Revelation, it said something about there were 7 kings is what, John's vision was looking at. And I went to Revelation and I was like, how many kingdoms do we have right now? And there's like 7 monarchies. I was like, interesting. Like, what are the chances? And so it's just so interesting and amazing watching prophecy come true when you're looking at Revelation and you're going, man, there's 7 monarchies right now. And you're seeing that Revelation with the 7 kingdoms and they call themselves kingdom. There's the United Kingdom and all these kingdom aspects. And we're supposed to be preaching the gospel of the kingdom, where the Most High is going to be king of the earth in those days. And we're going to be reigning, hopefully, and a part of that first resurrection and reigning with his beloved son, the Messiah. Good things to come, guys. Good things to come. And so it's great to be seeing these deceptions while we do. We are a blessed percentage of the population who he's revealing these things to. So don't take that for granted. Don't get prideful in how much you know. It's not about our head knowledge. I'm trying to remember which verse it was that talks about that essentially, even if I have the spirit of prophecy and all these different gifts, if it's not about love, if I don't have love, I'm basically just a drum sound. I'm just making noise like a drum. All the prophecies mean nothing if you don't have that love. So it's all about the love and being the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Who are they? The ones that know the most? Nope. They're the ones that are the most humble. So the words of the Messiah, very important. So that was the firmament footage. I'm going to see what I have next in our video here. I'm going to click through the presentations. Let me see. It goes from the firmament. What's next? More firmament stuff. I don't want to overload you with the firmament stuff. The next one is one, though, that I think a lot of people really enjoyed was something strange happening in Antarctica, the sky ice. That one there was fascinating, and it was a person that found someone that messaged them on Facebook and said, look, I'm in the military, or I was in the military, spent time in Antarctica. Here's what I've seen. This may relate to what you guys are looking into with the firmament. And so that person shared with me just like little screenshots of their conversation from Facebook, and they shared it and said, here, share this, see what you can do with it. And so I shared that, and it was a lot of people were like me were fascinated by what this person was talking about and what they were seeing in Antarctica and what they were studying. Because you always see them on like Nat Geo looking at these big cylinders of ice. And this person says that's not what they were studying most of the time. Most of the time they were studying what they call sky ice. And this stuff has like a regenerative property where it's at, not when you take it away from the structure where it's at. And I'm not saying that the firmament's made of sky ice, but knowing that we have boundaries and how far we can go in this world before you get to the firmament, there's probably things that would keep people, especially the evil ones, from just drilling right through the firmament. They would be trying to do that day and night. And so they may be. I don't know what they're trying to do out there. The Tower of Babel didn't work going upward. So they seem to have gone outwards and set up little bases where they keep us from going outwards. And so there's a reason for that. And I think it was funny, Michael, you said something, you go, the gospel is supposed to reach all nations and then the end will come.
Yeah.
Like, they know their time's coming. What if there's a little nation out there they've got hidden and like they don't want the gospel to get there, so they're going to stop it so they can just sort of control the time frame, because whatever Yeshua says is going to come true. And I thought, man, that's a fascinating take on that. I never thought about that.
Yeah, what if we had to go beyond or through Antarctica to find these nations where the gospel hasn't got yet? I mean, that's
they don't even know we
just
exist.
a crazy theory, but
a civilization with no internet that's surviving out there, and they're just like keeping them alive. Yeah, that would be very interesting. When you said that, I was like, if I was the evil one, what would I do? For one, they've changed the gospel message. We didn't even know what it was. They've just, they had the Inquisitions and all the things going on, the creeds. You were at a church this morning, and they're literally saying, we stick to the Bible. And then they quote the creeds, and you're like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
You're not sticking to the Bible when you're quoting
Bible
creeds.
And then they quote something they believe that's not biblical. So, yeah.
It's tough. And we got to have love and patience with those people. It's hard. We're all coming out of Babylon, and Rome, Egypt, and Babylon, I'm finding out, are like triplets. They are so intertwined. And that's why when you look everywhere, you see Rome, Babylon, and Egyptian stuff in DC. It's all there.
Yeah.
They literally have a place called the House of the Temple with an Egyptian room with all those goddesses and all those deities. And the oldest church there is a Roman church, a Roman Catholic church called, I think it's the Holy Trinity, something like that. And so, man, it's real. Coming out of Babylon, it's not easy. But a part of the truth of creation is that it humbles you enough to say, show me the truth. Show me what I am missing. So, yeah, we're going to be looking at that interesting firmament footage. I'll pull that up. This is me. It'll be me reading off of what this person said. This is their conversation that they shared with someone. And so if anyone can find this person, or if this person ever finds this footage or our recap of the conversation, reach out to us and let us know who you are. We can keep you anonymous if that's what you prefer. I probably would in your case.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So without further ado, let me pull up the firmament footage, add to the stage, remove us, and then we will check this out. Hello, family. Welcome back. I hope you guys are doing great. I wanted to pass something along that somebody shared with me a while back, and I just haven't had a chance to share it, but it's extremely interesting. It's one of those things you just have to share, and the people I've talked to about it had never heard of it. So I figured maybe you haven't, and it's great that we share information that we come across, kind of break some of the mystery of what's going on beyond where we're allowed to explore. And this story is one of those that will blow your mind because it reveals sort of what we already assumed would be going on there. But this person that shared this with me was very kind and said, "Hey, this is really cool. Have you heard about this?" And I haven't heard anything about it until they shared it. This channel here, Yup 0123, and they said, "I found this on Facebook and I think it's worth sharing with you all. I kept the original post's layout untouched to keep its originality." So they've broken it up. You'll see what I'm talking about or what they're talking about here in just a second. And the story, I will scroll to it, starts right here. And this person reached out on one of those truther Facebook pages. There's lots of them where they were talking about the firmament, and they had a military background. And they said, "I've never really believed in Jesus or done the whole church thing, but I think I've seen the stuff you guys are talking about here. I just didn't know what it was at the time." This person was in the Army from 1997 to 2000, and they said, "I was sent to McMurdo Station in Antarctica. I was a helicopter mechanic and a crew chief, and they had volunteer tours open for guys to go there and work on the helicopters there. When they asked for volunteers," sorry, there's some typos here. I'll try to read it and say what I believe they were trying to say. But it says, when they asked for volunteers, a bunch of us applied, but only me and one other guy got accepted. The application process had a bunch of questionnaires that we had to fill out, and we had to sit for a bunch of one on one interviews. It was mostly just a bunch of questions about what our interests and beliefs were. It's weird that they would ask about their beliefs. I was sent to McMurdo Research Station in August of 1998. When we weren't busy de-icing the aircraft and working on them, we had time to hang out with the scientists at the research station. The military unit attached to McMurdo was small, and we didn't have our own separate facilities. We didn't have a PX or a media center. There was no chapel or chaplain, and we didn't have our own separate mailroom. We just had to share the same facilities with the scientists and researchers. So over time, I got to be friends with a few of them. They had two different kinds of ice they worked on and studied. This is where it gets interesting. One kind of ice was the normal kind that we've all seen. They took cores of it out of boreholes in the ground. Just like normal ice, it was mostly clear and sometimes white, and it would melt into liquid water if it got warm. The whole area of Antarctica is covered in this kind of ice. But that wasn't their main kind of ice. The only time I ever saw them actually studying normal ice was when a film crew from National Geographic came by. The rest of the time, which was most of the time, the scientists were studying something they called sky ice. This stuff was totally different. We were never allowed to go into the laboratory areas of the station because the labs had to be kept super clean, and they said it would mess up their work if they risked letting too many people in the lab. But one time, one of the researchers that I was friends with showed me a piece of sky ice. You couldn't touch the stuff with your bare hands because it was so cold. And it wasn't clear or white like normal ice. It was solid blue. He said that's why they call it sky ice, because it was the exact same color as the sky. We had to wear thick, heavy going outside gloves to handle it. The stuff was so cold, it would instantly freeze your skin if you touched it. I don't remember what the temperature he said it was, but it was something like hundreds of degrees below zero, way colder than the normal ice that was outside. He had to carry it in a metal bottle that was kind of like a thermos. He let me play with the piece of it for a while. It felt lighter than a piece of normal ice of the same size, like it wasn't very heavy at all. It almost felt like you could throw it up in the air and it would just float back down. But I didn't try that. and it was also a little flexible when I tried to bend it. It didn't break like normal ice would, and even for a small piece, you could see through it. It was solid blue right from the surface. And here's the really weird part. It didn't melt into water. When it got warm, because we had it inside, it just started to shrink. It got smaller and smaller, but my glove never got wet. And there was no water on the floor. The stuff just turned into thin air when it got warm and vaporized. He said that was the reason why they had to study the stuff right there in Antarctica. You couldn't take the sky ice back to America to study it because it was almost impossible to keep it cold enough during transit. And then they shared a verse right here where it says, "And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it." And then we continue off where it says, "It would always vaporize into air, and you'd have nothing left when you got back to the US," he said. Russian scientists had discovered the same problem when they tried to take the ice back to Russia. So that was why they all had research stations in Antarctica. After maybe 15 minutes of handling the piece of sky ice, it was almost completely gone. Just a tiny little bit was left, and my glove was dry the whole time. I'd never seen anything like it before or since, and that's unusual because I've always had an interest in scientific things. I think that's even why I got selected to go to Antarctica, because a big part of the interview was about science and what I believed about things. So I really thought it was cool to see something I'd never heard of before. The whole time I was at McMurdo, I heard people talking about the wall, like that was a special place. It's pretty common to find ice walls and ice cliffs all over Antarctica. The whole place is ice, but it's all just normal white or clear ice. So I asked my friend where they get the sky ice from, and he said it comes from the wall. I don't remember exactly how he described it, but apparently there's a huge wall of sky ice in Antarctica. He said it was hundreds of miles inland from the coast. I never got to see it myself because I was only stationed to McMurdo. I didn't get to go out on expeditions. He said it was the biggest natural structure in the world. Imagine that. He said that in the 1960s, the U.S. Army had a plan to bore a tunnel into the wall, but they didn't have a boring machine that could handle the super cold temperatures. So they had a whole testing project in Greenland where they developed ice tunnels and invented new boring machines that could operate in super cold temperatures. So this was back when they were going into forming NASA and all the other things that were kind of strange, the Antarctic Treaty around that time, pretty close to it. And he says, like they did this whole big thing in Greenland for just practice. So it was like they were practicing to bore into the sky ice. I'm not an expert on that, but that's just what he told me. Then, once they had the new boring machine figured out, they brought it to the ice wall, or to the wall in Antarctica. He said that the machine bored a tunnel. I don't remember exactly, it was like 5 or 10 miles into the wall, but that they never broke through the other side of the wall, and that they still don't know how thick the wall is even to this day. And I'm probably not remembering this part correctly, but I think he said that at first the floor of the tunnel was solid rock, but after a mile or two in, the floor was sky ice, like it was sky ice underneath after a certain point, or something like that. And apparently the wall slowly builds itself back up. So it slowly builds itself back up after you cut it, because after a year or so, the tunnel had shrunk smaller all by itself, like a self-healing wound. It starts closing up. They had to leave the boring machine inside the wall because the tunnel shrunk too small to get it back out. And after a few decades, the tunnel was completely gone, like the part of the wall was solid again. He said that now the scientists were trying to use technology to figure out how thick the wall is. He said something about putting earthquake sensors all along the wall, and that somehow you could measure the signal from an earthquake to see how thick the wall is. But he kind of lost me on that part. I never really thought about any of that after I left. It was really weird stuff, but I didn't think it was a big deal at the time. But then a few weeks ago, I saw a map of the wall in Antarctica,
except the map was all flat and crazy looking, and it showed the wall going all the way up over the whole Earth. So since then, I've been trying to learn more about the sky ice that I saw and the wall that I heard about, but I can't find anything at all. So now I'm really wondering if there could be a connection here. And that's how I found this group. So I hope that maybe some part of my experience will help someone figure something out. Well, thankful to that person. If they were telling the truth, that is some very interesting information given what we know surrounds us. We know that the firmament's not just made out of ice. It's something special. That could just be something near the foundation to prevent you from going all the way to it. The Father's design is very complex, and he has foreknowledge. He knows what mankind's going to try to do. Those little nuclear bombs they shot at the firmament was nothing to the firmament. They can't break it. They've tried. If they could, they would, but they can't. And this is just one of those stories that confirms a lot of what I had assumed would be going on. I always thought, man, if they are out there and they can go to it, they're probably trying to drill through it. And if they are, how have they not gotten through it already? And that would answer the question for you, because it closes up as you go through it. But this was back in the 60s. There's no telling what they're trying now, mostly guarding it. I'm sure that's the biggest job they have, is keeping us from going there. And if you do go there, you can only go to certain places. It is tens of thousands of dollars for a one-way ticket. Otherwise, many of us would have already gone there, tried to do some sneaking around and investigating. But this video here, it only had like 300 views. But really cool stuff. Wanted to pass this along. I know the days of censorship have it to where you can't find stuff like this anymore. And I remembered putting it in my Firmament playlist. I just wasn't sure if you guys had heard about this and wanted to pass it along to you. Answers some questions that most of you, if you're like me, had about what's going on out there and what are some of the properties near the foundation of the firmament, if they're even close to it. Could go on like that for many, many miles. Who knows? We'll find out soon someday. The firmament itself will roll away like a scroll, but that second day of creation, where he put this expanse for signs and for seasons, and letting us know that he will return very soon. And it's one of those things that we're sensing is right around the corner due to the way things are going in the world and what they're trying to prepare us for and all the division. But they're preparing for a war. I'll go over that in a little while in another video, what they're preparing for and how you can be prepared yourself to not fall for the deceptions to come. But see you guys around soon. I know that this is a random video, and I'm just trying to put this stuff out there and stop procrastinating and share the information that I have while we still can. I'll see you guys really soon. Stay safe and stay ready. All right. So that was the really one of the more intriguing firmament videos. I think a lot of people are like, wow, it's really cool. It's hard for me to imagine somebody just making all that up to poke fun at us.
Yeah,
like, it's kind of like the person was speaking from experience.
I'd like to hear from the original author of that. I know they'd probably be sworn to some type of secrecy and not able to reveal their identity. But yeah, if we could make that interview happen, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, the person that messaged them, they said, man, this was on like one of those truther Facebook pages that they had going. So they had all these messages coming in back then. And they said, I'll try to find it, but no promises if I can find the person. I'm like, please let this work. That was a few years ago. So probably did not find them. Yeah. And the channel that shared that originally, like, it disappeared and then it came back. So I don't know what happened there. If maybe they got deleted or banned or
worse.
Yeah, it's like they just were gone. I was like, somebody goes, hey, the link for the original video where you shared that conversation is now gone. It's like, imagine that. So yeah, that was the Firmament video. Let me see what's next in our list of videos. So we have you must become a fool, essentially to lose the wisdom of this world. And so I'm not going to play all the videos I had planned. I planned on just going through and spending hours and hours. But I'm going to have to cut it a little bit short. We're still going to play the final card grand finale and another one of my brother's videos that he put out there. And so play those. And since he came on here, I want to play those videos that he made, and you all can pray for him and encourage him to have more time and chances to actually get to making videos and studying and teaching all the stuff that we need to be doing in these last days. Because it seems like when you try to do stuff like this, life comes at you fast, and seems like there's almost like stumbling blocks everywhere you turn, and almost spiritual warfare. There's been times where I've been trying to make videos, and it's like you just feel like this spiritual wall, like it's like you're it's almost like the more you try to do, the more the intensity of the pushback you get spiritually. Almost like pray and power through it. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I may skip to your video, Michael, the Biblical Earth video you made.
Yeah.
Starts out with good old Rob Skiba.
Yeah, it does. That was, God,
That
it's
was
hard
one of your
when
first
I watch
videos.
that now to see his intro. Just still hits me hard that he's gone. Uh-oh, there's the pretty girl. Hey, Ella.
There's my daughter. She's joining in
girl
this
is an
marathon.
angel.
I can gauge about how long we've been doing this because Amber was, actually, I think we were about to find out about her being on the way when I started waking up, and she'll be 7 in March.
Yep,
So,
March
yeah.
25th.
So yeah, it'll be about 7 years. She's my little timestamp. How I know I'm not really good at keeping up with time. As I get older, it flies faster, and so yeah, this is our little.
Is that child number 7 or 8? I've lost
12. I'm trying to start the.
She was the
tribe.
last one. Yeah.
Yeah, she was our last one, child number 4, and now we have 5.
She's this last one after the next one.
Yeah, the miracle children. Yeah, we wanted a girl. We had 3 boys, and then we had this one here. I always wanted a daughter. I was like, I want a daughter so bad. I want a little baby girl, and gotta be careful what you ask for. He's listening. And me and my wife both had dreams in the same night, and she hardly ever dreams. I had a dream right before I woke up that I was in the hospital, and she was like, the baby's coming. And I'm like, what? And I woke up, and as soon as I woke up, Amber, my wife, woke up and said, I had a dream we're having a girl. And I was like, that's weird. I just had a dream we were in the hospital having a baby. And so that got that on our minds. And then 2 of our friends not really friends. It's like a sister-in-law and her niece. They both called and said they had a dream that we were having a girl. And so when we found out we were having a baby after that, I was like, I already know it's a girl. I'm not even worried about it. And sure enough, they said, yep, it's a girl. Oh, I didn't even pick out a boy name. I was like, I know it's going to be a girl. So Eliana, that's her name. She's our little princess.
He knows my name.
I'm talking to everybody else. Yeah, Uncle Michael knows your name. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling
Oh,
everybody.
that's my niece. Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, make sure Michael, make sure you know her name. Don't get it wrong. Did you need something?
No.
Just want to say hi. You bored?
Yeah.
All right.
I already got a bunch of stuff. I was wanting to collect a bunch of things so I could get all my things together, and I could think, this is for this person, this is for that, this is for this is for that. So I gathered up all my things. I gathered up all my Paw Patrol toys, all my little tea dishes. I gathered up all things for babies, and I gathered up all.
Wow, you've been busy.
I grabbed everything. Everything I have. And now I'm grabbing rubber ducks. A bunch of rubber ducks.
So you must be bored collecting all your stuff.
Yeah.
All
Send
right.
her
Well,
over.
you
We
gotta
got a
do
farm
that.
over here for her
We'll do
to
that.
help.
We're going to show a video, okay?
Okay. Bye.
Say
See
bye,
you
everybody.
later.
Bye, Ella.
Bye. See you.
That's my little energetic, smart, gifted little lady. She's like her mama. She loves to talk. We could just have a show with her on, and she would talk the entire time.
She needs her own talk show.
She does. She needs a little talk show. She talks. Like one time we stayed out in the camper, and it was too cold for everybody else. Everybody wanted to go inside. So me and her, we toughed it out in the camper, and we talked, and she talked. I said, I'm going to see how long she talks. It was about 4 a.m. She's like, I'm getting really tired. And then she would just start talking again. It was hilarious. And then the next day she goes, that was the most fun. I liked really having those long conversations. Yeah, that's my girl. So yeah, daughters are a different world. You have boys, it's totally different.
Night and day different. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and play your video. This is the biblical Earth model you can't unsee. Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, this was one just to to really, for the people who believe the Bible, to kind of tie biblical cosmology to the Bible, I think is what really the point of this was, kind of putting this together, and to give another, like a really biblical-based flat Earth kind of documentary.
Yeah.
And I tried to keep it under 30 minutes, and I don't remember how long it ended up being, but it was close to that 30-minute range, so it was a good one to.
Yeah, I don't think it was that long, but yeah, it was one. And it's funny, I encouraged him to do videos. I was like, you really should try, because he's artistic. Like, we both got into like drawing in high school and or middle school, and we wanted to be comic book artists. We loved drawing comic books, but he could draw without anything to look at. He could take his imagination and memory and draw stuff. Like I remember in 3rd grade, he could draw a Ninja Turtle that looked like the actual, like the real deal, and I was so impressed by that.
There's too many rubber ducks.
There's too many. Everybody said bye to you already.
You need to get your ducks in a row.
Oh, they're wet too. Go bring them in there. You're dripping water all in my office. I'm afraid to see the water mess that's going on out there in Duckland. But yeah, I was, as I was saying, yeah, I remember your drawings. Everybody in the whole neighborhood, we lived in the projects back then, was like, whoa, draw us a picture. And you were like the drawer. You would draw things for people. And usually if people are artistic or musically talented, they are usually good at making videos. It's like those two talents go hand in hand. And so I was like, just try to make some videos, man. See if you're good at it. And you made this video within, I don't even know, like a month from the time you started trying to make videos. And so,
month and a half.
Yeah. And everybody was like, this is your best video ever. And then flash forward about a year or so later, you made the final card. And then they were like, this is definitely your best video ever. So I just banned those people.
The good thing is nobody can tell if it's me or you making it. So
yeah,
way.
I know. I go in the comments. I'm like, thanks for that.
and if it's just my voice, they can't tell that it's not your voice. They sound too similar. I can't even tell our voice apart when I'm just listening to it.
Yeah, I had that happen once. I thought.
And Josh's wife can't tell our voice apart either. She calls it. If I answer his phone, we can talk for 20 minutes, and she will not know it's me.
She can, but she's not. She's usually kind of like, she'll have multiple things going on. When she's talking to me, she's usually cooking, homeschooling, or doing something. And so it's like,
well, one day she was asking me if she could buy a car, and I said, and it was like a used car, and I said, yeah, sure. And then when I got off the phone, Josh was like, what'd you tell her she could do?
Yeah.
I was like, I told her to go ahead and buy a car. He's like, what?
I'm still paying for that. 10 years later.
I probably should have waited. I didn't know she was going to click submit right then.
Yeah. Debbie said, can't wait for Michael's next best video ever.
Oh, it's coming out. You just give it a second.
We'll go play with them, baby girl.
The final card took like 3 months of scrambling up.
I feel like a duck. I grabbed way too many rubber ducks. Now I feel like a rubber duck.
You sound like a rubber duck. All right, go play with them. She is bored. Yeah, when mom's under the weather and I'm not there to play, she's bored. Do you want my phone to play with?
Send her over here.
Rubber ducks.
I know. Rubber ducks. Go play with the rubber ducks.
Swim.
All right. Well, I want to go ahead and pull up your video before.
I'm a swimming rubber duck.
Okay.
Amber, you're fired.
Free entertainment on the side. Let me remove the comment. She's determined to take over the show. Yeah, she will. I'll have to go and lock her up again. Put her back in her kennel.
Thanks, child.
All right. Well, here is one of our first best videos ever for my brother, Michael, and his skills to make videos.
I got kind of trapped into these subjects because I grew up believing that this book is true. It is my only source for truth. It is my compass in a sea of lies.
Has there ever been an experiment done to prove that the Earth is revolving around the sun?
Yes, there was several experiments in the 1800s. Dominique Arago, Armand Fuseau, Augustin Fresnel, but one of the most famous was the Michelson-Morley experiment in 1887.
Tell us about that.
Well, they used light beams to measure whether the Earth was moving, and they found that there was no movement. The Earth has to be moving 30 kilometers per second to complete its annual revolution. And they found out that it wasn't moving in a very precise. Michelson could have calculated it to 1/100th of what he got in his experiment. That's how sensitive his instruments were. So the natural interpretation, and even Einstein admits this, Mach admits this, Bohr admits this, the natural interpretation is that the Earth isn't moving. So how do we get out of that? Well, you invent special relativity. And now you say, well, the reason that beam wasn't affected when it went toward the motion of the Earth was because the apparatus shortened. Huh? Yeah, Michelson's apparatus shortened as it was going with the Earth in its orbit around the sun.
No, wait, you're telling me that the contraction of mass was invented to explain away the results of the Michelson-Morley experiment?
Yes, and that's what my book will tell you, and it's been admitted by all the scientists.
Does anyone expressly admit that, hey, we had to come up with this contraction effect because otherwise we're stuck with a motionless
Yes,
Earth?
the very guy who invented it.
Tell me what he admitted.
Heinrich Lorentz says, I don't have any other explanation to this experiment of Michelson-Morley unless I contract the apparatus. Otherwise, we're going to have to believe the Earth is standing still in space.
If you put a long exposure camera pointing at the North Star, you'll see the stars will make perfect circles around, perfect star trails. The only problem is the Earth is also orbiting the Sun at 67,000 miles an hour. Okay, the Sun is moving, dragging the Earth and all the planets up that way or that way at 600,000 miles an hour. So why do we see perfect circles? You know, because that's the slowest speed, that's slowest motion in that mix, and yet the Earth is moving 67 times faster that way, and 600 times faster that way. So you should see the stars do all sorts of strange motions, but you don't. You only see them make these perfect circles. That tells me that it's the stars that are moving, not the Earth.
And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
For millennia, well-educated people believed the Earth was flat and placed at the center of the universe, enclosed there with a protective covering. In the early 16th century, Nikolai Copernicus introduced a different model of the universe in which the sun lay at the center and the Earth revolved around it. Copernicus' heliocentric model is taught today, while the earlier geocentric model has been utterly rejected.
If you knew nothing about science and you read, say, the Bible, the Old Testament, which in Genesis is an account of nature, that's what that is, and I said to you, give me your description of the natural world based only on this, you would say the world was created in 6 days and that stars are just little points of light, much lesser than the sun. And in fact, they can fall out of the sky, right? Because that's what happens during the Revelation. One of the signs that the second coming is that the stars will fall out of the sky and land on Earth. So to even write that means you don't know what those things are. You have no concept of what the actual universe is. So everybody who tried to make proclamations about the physical universe based on Bible passages got the wrong answer.
Why do you think that Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world until now?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers.
And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things. We lied about everything.
In 1986, the shuttle Challenger exploded about 74 seconds after takeoff, killing all 7 astronauts inside. Or did it? It turns out that 6 of the 7 are still alive and kicking today. Ellison Onizuka claims to be his identical twin brother, Claude. Yeah, I've got an identical twin brother, Claude, too. The Challenger pilot, Mickey Smith, hasn't even bothered changing his name. He's now Professor Michael J. Smith of University of Wisconsin. Now, Krista McAuliffe was a bit of a sneaky one. She was the Challenger payload specialist, quite famous for being a teacher. It turns out during her astronaut days she was using her middle name, Krista, and now she goes by her first name, Sharon, and she's a Syracuse law professor. The Challenger commander, Francis Richard Scobie, is now Dick Scobie, which sounds like a rather unpleasant disease, CEO of Cows in Trees Limited. Judith Resnick, the Challenger mission specialist, again hasn't even bothered changing her name. She's a professor at Yale Law. And finally, Ronald McNair, another Challenger mission specialist, claims to be his identical twin brother, Carl McNair. What are the odds?
Heliocentric means that the sun is the center of the universe, known universe, our solar system, and everything revolves around the sun. With a geocentric view, the sun and everything revolves around the earth, and the earth is fixed where it is. Now, here's the thing. My little excursion into this has revealed that most of the people that believe in a geocentric view of the earth also believe that the earth is flat. All right, I'm done with him. Am I in a Sunday school class where the preacher believes that we have a flat earth? No, I'm not saying I believe it. But I like debate, don't you? If what you believe is real, and you really believe it, and you have a foundation for that belief, you should be able to defend it. I have no respect for somebody who says, well, I believe this and that, and you don't have anything to back it up. I'm not saying I believe in a flat earth. No. But there are some interesting points they make.
The horizon always looks flat, and I think most people would say, well, that's a perspective issue. That would be the argument, the typical argument. But if you haven't seen it, people should look at it. That you're right about the idea that there's people who have attached cameras to balloons, just independent people who've attached a high-def camera to a balloon, sent it up as high as they possibly could just to get that footage, because it is interesting to do. And you are right, as far high as it goes on any of these videos that I've seen, I'm a little surprised that you never see a curvature. Even thousands of feet up, you don't see that curvature. It's a little odd.
An old reel received by mistake. It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11. Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in living color, with exceptionally clear behind-the-scenes audio of conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from any other windows. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. This is a segment that they believed wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being changed to that of an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice. Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert. Finally, the iris is opened up to see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth orbit only 9 hours earlier, and the moon is some 3 days' journey away? Furthermore, if they genuinely went to the moon, why would they be faking any part of it?
They were kind of laughing, but they were they were listening to him. He seemed to be like kind of like this guy who was just this weird, I thought he was some sort of method. He was basically just like taking apart everything that they know or that they say every day in the office. He was basically explaining the flat earth and how it works. And he literally drew the UN flag. And I thought this is a joke. on me. This is some sort of initiation to see if I'm stupid or to see if I'm going to buy this. I thought they were fucking playing with me to see if they could convince me it was flat. And what was creepy about the whole thing is that they were more laughing at me for not getting it. It never went back to it being a ball with these gentlemen that night. It might have been that at the office the next day, in front of everybody else, the underlings, but, and then for weeks, I couldn't think, everywhere I went, every time I saw a picture of the Earth, it was like just a logo, it was a painting, it was a graphic. And then I started to scrutinize the actual images of the Earth they claim are photos. And it just started looking silly, like a cartoon. Like, why is the water so blue if it's reflecting the blue atmosphere, but I could still see the brownness of Africa? Like, wouldn't I be seeing Africa through the blue atmosphere? Like, why is the green and the brown of continents so clear with the blue of the water when the water of the oceans is just reflecting the blue atmosphere? And how come the whole thing, being 3 parts water, isn't reflecting the blackness of space? Like, I started seeing all these flaws. And the more and more I tried to prove this guy wrong, or just to find out they were joking and pulling my leg, the more I realized they weren't joking.
And the tricky part here was the weather.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it.
The best way to brainwash the whole world, to lie to the whole world about what the world is. What is the earth under your feet? What is in the sky above your head? Where did we come from? It's now, this lie has now evolved into a Big Bang evolution, heliocentric spinning ball cosmology, when in reality, we're not a cosmic accidental sneeze, nothingness turned everything. This is quite obviously intelligently designed, this thing we're experiencing here, this life, this universe.
Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning, and it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere, it's oblate, and officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped.
I found this photo, Grandmere State Park. This is from Joshua Nowicki, and what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing. that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
This is the case. If this flat Earth is our universe, then it elevates man and this Earth to supreme importance, where every life, human or otherwise, is significant and sacred. And when we all realize that, then the world, the universe, changes.
Still gives me chills.
Yeah, it's funny. You ended it with "You are God's beloved creation." Did you do that because I used to do that, or did you just do that?
I just did that. I love
didn't
that
word it
verse.
exactly
You're
like that, but I would
fearfully
say
and
like you're a beloved
wonderfully
creation
made.
of the Most High. And I thought it's funny how we sync up like that sometimes. Do the same things. Yeah, that was good. I don't actually think I've seen that video all the way through. I think I've watched part of it, and I was like, that's pretty good, and I just uploaded it. And which is
Shame.
crazy because back in the day, I used to stress before I put anything out there, especially my videos. I would watch them.
Yeah.
Because I would always have typos. You don't see your own mistakes, and I'd put out videos and have typos. But that was, again, for anybody joining in now, that was one of Michael's first videos that he put together. And it,
Well, first, yeah, I wouldn't say first video, but
yeah,
definitely the first one of like a compilation video, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Before it was more like teachings and biblical teachings and having slides and kind of like a presentations.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were really just teachings with slides. They were really boring, but
Really
good stuff
boring.
in them. If you haven't gone to the Grace and Truth channel and go all the way back, we have some really cool biblical prophecies and things that we talk about. Just some, I guess, kind of some very basic entry level stuff to people who are new to the faith, but then some really powerful teachings like Psalm 22. And we had some earlier hell videos and things like that that we've kind of hit on more recently. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there and stuff like that's really resurfaced. Like I did a video on the Trinity, and I think that topic has really taken off in the last couple of years. Something that a lot of people are going to and asking questions about. And I think rediscovering this idea that, you know, they lied to us about the earth. What else are they lying to us about in Christianity?
Yeah.
A lot of those.
Yeah, unlearning those lies is hard. It's a lot like the globe. There's a spiritual aspect to it. You don't see it until people start challenging what they've been taught. And then you see it because there's a lot of hate. Like I couldn't understand why people were so angry with the globe, but it's a spiritual aspect. It's extremely spiritual. So there's a lot of beliefs like that are of that spirit, what they call the spirit of the Antichrist. And it's that spiritual aspect that it's set in motion to deny the Father and the Son. And there's lots of ways they can do that. The Big Bang is one of many. And so you can't hide the Messiah. And what are you going to do? Just corrupt his image big time. And so that's what they've been doing with their Roman creeds and stuff. So yeah, he does videos on that. We have some controversial to say the least. That's a big debate topic where people talk about it and get heated. But the biggest thing for me in the early days with all the confusion is just reach out to the Most High, humble yourself, ask for him to show you the truth. Because sometimes I've spent years praying for him to show someone the truth. And they were the ones that were right, you know, my wife included, where I'm like, just show her the truth on this. And then finally the Father, years later, when I say, show me the truth, he goes, okay, you're ready. Here you go. And so it takes a humbling to come to a lot of the truthful things in the word that are hidden. So yeah, that was the biblical earth model you can't unsee. That was years ago. And that was before, that was a precursor to the final card. The final card is one of those that everybody's like, well, ties everything together so well. It goes more into the alien deception. And we worked a little bit together on that, but I would say I was more of in the background, just somebody giving advice.
Yeah. And you know, it was funny too, because I kept feeling led, like we'd have these meetups and people would say, we need a documentary that really ties everything together. And at first the whole alien deception and all that wasn't even a thought. But I started going back to, as I was praying on it and thinking on this, I kept hearing I'd listened to some of Rob Skiba's videos, and he had talked about NASA, the founders of NASA being into the occult and things like that. And I thought, well, I want to dig more into that. And oh my God, the rabbit hole on that. It's in the final card, some of it, but it talks about the rituals that they had and things like that. And I mean, wow, I think we just lost Josh. Are you still there, brother?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
I just put you in solo. Yeah. You were talking.
Yeah, the occult rituals of NASA, that was something that I heard Rob talk about, but never really looked into. And when there are actually television series, and in the final card, there's some clips from a show called Strange Angel, which I've never watched the show, but I did see highlights, and it shows, I mean, they have Aleister Crowley, they have Jack Parsons, and all these people doing rituals, which is really exactly what happened. This is a biography / made for TV series, but it goes into how big into the occult these people who founded NASA were. And we already knew, like, I think people with just general knowledge know of Operation Paperclip, and that we were taking Nazi war criminals and turning them into NASA scientists. But I think there was a reason, you kind of wonder, if NASA was good, why would they take these evil people and make them a part of the space program? It was supposed to be something that had these goals of going to the moon. Well, when you realize they are all deceivers, it makes perfect sense. That's why they had to have certain groups of individuals involved. And the final card kind of shows how that ties into the alien deception, the ancient aliens, and all that stuff that we see on TV all the time. It's mainstream news, but it's really just a replacement of the Nephilim and the fallen angels and the ones who did share amazing things with mankind, technologies and secrets, which we've now come to call aliens. And I think it ties into the extraterritories and that type of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how it all kind of came together into the final card when we really got to putting it all together in one place.
Oh, somebody said, please don't put my comment on the screen. Sorry about that if I did. Accidents happen.
Hey, any comments, we're going to put them up here. They're fair
Now
game.
that you said that, now I kind of want to. Yeah, I don't know. Is this Rush Johnny Cool? Are we doing Sukkot this year? Yeah, it's a good rehearsal when it talks about what's going to happen during the Millennial Kingdom. It talks about the Feast of Tabernacles. I know it's not possible for everybody around the world. You got people living in Alaska who probably can't bring their children out into that environment. But yeah, it's fun to remember what's happened and show the 10 Commandments movie and do all those things. That's a lot of fun. Children actually love that, and it gets them into the Bible. And if you watch, like we'll put the projector up in our camper with the cold wind outside, and just it feels like you're there. I don't know, something cool about that. Fun thing to do, preparing for that millennial reign where all nations will be gathering, it says, to keep the Feast of Tabernacles once a year. How cool is that? All right, I'm reading your comments before we jump into the final card. I had a long list of videos that I wanted to play, and so I think we may break this up and do this again, have another marathon where we show the ones that we didn't play. Because there's some really good heavy hitters. I mean, things that I poured, kind of like the final card, where I poured hours and hours into them, and my goal is to make them family friendly so that you can share them with your loved ones, your grandparents, people who are bought into it hook, line, and sinker, your NASA fans. It's a non-abrasive way to get people to question things. There's a lot of videos out there that are good, but sometimes they're abrasive, and I wanted to avoid that. A lot like the documentary we were a part of with the Soup Films. They are working on distribution now. All sorts of awards that film won, and it was the approach. It was that peaceful, loving approach. I know a lot of people expected it to be in your face, but they said they wanted it to be one you could share with your grandmother, and she won't be upset. And so it leaves it up to the viewers. And the guy at the film festival that was local, nearby where we're at, there was one in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he said the reason it won and the reason they brought it on was the approach. And so
they weren't even into flat Earth. They said we would never heard of it. We just watched it, and it wasn't throwing anything in our face.
And then they were on the fence. These people that have never heard of it are like, now we're kind of on the fence on what we believe, because it brought up some valid points. And so Origins Untold, Ancient Cosmology, when that's available, we will be sending links to that, and probably
I believe it is available now to watch, right? Isn't there somewhere you can stream it right now?
Yeah, there's they shared a link on their
for free
Soup Films Facebook page where you can vote on it, and the voting page where you vote on it actually has a playable link. They let you play it through their website, which is cool. So people can do that if you're interested. Let me know. I don't know if that's still available to view, but definitely when it comes out, if it were to come out on Netflix or something, Amazon Prime, go there and watch it. Even if you've already seen it, pay for it again, get some revenue for these people so they can do more parts of this, what's going to be hopefully a series. Yeah, that was a major blessing. Definitely a challenging undertaking. And the fact that he threw all that together so fast, all the editing, David and Sarah, those two married couple working together, independent filmmakers, extremely talented. They're young. They're still in their 30s. They're like mid 30s. They're young, and they're doing these things. That is awesome. Yeah. Thank you, John. Means a lot. We're blessed. The testimonies are what motivate us. It's so inspirational. You get just beat up sometimes with all the hate you get, but then you get a comment every now and again, and it's like, all right, we're going to keep going. This is doing some damage to the powers of darkness and their doctrines they've worked so hard to create. They've spent hundreds of years, and it's fun watching it fall apart in seconds when people are seeing this stuff.
Pray for those adversaries out there. I know there's a lot of people that do give us a lot of hate, and the spiritual side to this. There are demons that do not like our doctrines, that do not want these people awake, and those demons will really fight against the truth. And that's what's attacking us a lot. And I think it's important we remember why the Messiah said, pray for your enemies, bless those who curse you, because he understood the spiritual side of the attack. And these people wake up and they say, hey, they'll apologize and say, hey, I attacked you, and I was one of those people who sent us an entire book in the comments of how awful and evil we were and how they just unsubscribed. And then they say, now God opened my eyes. So be open to those people. Be patient and kind. Don't
Send
return
love.
insults with insults. It's easy to do. And hit the backspace button.
Yeah. Our words have a ripple effect, and I saw that early on when I was sending comments to people. That's one thing the Father showed me was it goes beyond. Even though this is on a discussion post, it's the same as saying it face to face, pretty much. Yeah. Like it's the same effect. Only with your words, people can forget it. These are something somebody could screenshot and share for generations. Like this stuff it's more eternal than we think. So don't be keyboard warriors when it comes to sending the hate. All right. But there is a time for correction. Sometimes people do need to be corrected. But yeah, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to pull up the final card pretty soon. The grand finale. Again, there's far more videos that I have in my playlist. I just wanted to make sure that I can finish what I'm doing here because my wife needs me. She's a little under the weather. She's been taking care of our children who are they cough and sneeze on you. We have a 1-year-old little boy, and he just went through his poor, pitiful sick phase where he had a fever, sneezing on her. Moms get the brunt of that stuff. He did it to me too. He would like drool and get all over his hand. I don't want to gross you guys out, but then he'd be like, "Come here, Daddy," and like grab my hand and pull me around. So I feel like I've got a guardian angel smacking away all the bad germs because I go to school and it's the same thing with everybody being sick everywhere. It sounds like we're in a waiting room at a hospital sometimes when you're at work.
17 years teaching, our immune system's not.
Yeah,
he's a lot stronger probably than most would be.
Oh yeah, I know, for real. When I first started teaching for the first 4 or 5 years, I was sick probably twice a month. Let me see if I can share another video file because the final card, I wanted it to be in the form of a video file so it's clearer for everybody. The final card. I'm going to hit open and it'll open real quick, but then I'll pause it. For some reason, when you hit open, it plays right away. There you go.
Oh, excited. Get the popcorn ready.
Yeah. So get the popcorn ready. Yeah, get the popcorn ready for sure. This is a good one. And I'm going to go back, if you're joining in late, and link all the videos that we played in here, timestamp them so you can find them. And hopefully we'll be back doing like a part 2 of this so that we can share some more of the heavy hitters that I've skipped over. I had a presentation with hours of videos, or not hours. Several hours, probably 5 or 6 hours worth of videos, and wanted to section off all of my day to be prepared to hang out with you guys, fellowship, and share these things, share a little bit of our testimony. So I plan on doing more of the testimony aspect with our next one so we can give you guys a little bit of insight about our background, where we come from, and the miracles along the way so you can relate to us. I had somebody reach, they were commenting and they said, "Man, you're wanting us to study the word with you and all these things, but we don't even know anything about you." And that really hit home with me. I was like, man, it does help when you know about someone and their background. And now that we're coming out of hiding, so to speak, and trying to be more bold and step out there, I think it's a good time to start sharing more of where we come from and the miracles that brought us where we are. It's a humble, very humbling journey that we've been on. And so I want to share some of those details and have my wife come on. She's a big part of the testimony too when she's feeling better. So That'll be fun. We can come on and hopefully at that point designate more time. Right now we've been going live for just under 3 hours, and so we may be on here a little bit longer. I just want to make sure she's taken care of. I wish I could somehow toss the control over to Michael and he can end the stream, but I don't think he can from his end, so I'll have to be doing that.
Nope.
You got any final words for the final card before we start it?
No, I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you got anybody that's new to questioning this or anybody who's never looked into it, it's a good one to send and say, hey, check this out. It's got some good points. It is 45 minutes long. Or it's roughly, what is it, 43 minutes?
It's around 40 minutes. And the thing is, though, it doesn't start out right away with the biblical earth stuff. It's one of those that can lure somebody in. And it's too late. They're already lured in.
A lot of people said, man, I thought this was about aliens and I got duped into flat earth and now I'm a flat earther. It's like, It's a funny one.
We had somebody commenting that's got a song coming out, a really good song. It's like a rock song though, but it's like phenomenal biblical earth song. Kind of has that Green Day type of feel to it. And they said the final card was one that their dad sent them and helped wake them up. And now here they are producing music that's high quality. So we'll have them on soon as well to share their little testimony and a snapshot of their song, which is going to hopefully help the community out and can be used in videos and whatnot. So, well, without further ado, I want to bring up the final card because we're in those end times where those deceptions are going to happen. Revelation 16 unfolding. They need a threat. And what better threat from above that kind of blinds people to what's about to happen than the alien threat, the one that was called the final card, the final threat. So I'm going to remove us and play the grand finale a little early, but hey, we'll be back.
There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers.
If you've got this gut-wrenching feeling that something big is about to happen, there's a reason. And it has everything to do with what is now being disclosed to the general public.
Bombshell UFO report is expected in June from the U.S. government.
Meantime, UFO sightings in New York have nearly doubled since the pandemic began, and we are getting new video from the Navy showing pyramid-shaped objects flying in the sky.
We were warned by the late Wernher von Braun in the years leading up to his death in 1977 that there were going to be a certain number of cards played on humanity, all leading to a culminating event. Now everything Wernher von Braun warned us about has come true, except for what he called the final card that they were going to play on us, and it has everything to do with UFOs.
The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids.
This new one you're tracking, how big?
It's what we call a global killer. Nothing would survive, not even bacteria.
An asteroid some scientists call a city killer came closer to Earth than the moon this week. The scary thing is that scientists had no idea it was coming.
Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over, during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. The way he said it to me, there was no doubt in my mind that he knew something that he was too afraid to talk about.
Can you tell us, have unidentified flying objects been seen?
Well, sure. We have lots of reports about what we call unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Just a few days ago, the Pentagon confirmed that a 2019 video of a UFO sighting is actually real. It was a UFO.
Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
They've done a great job systematically programming each one of us into believing that this alien threat is very real and very near. But what they don't want us to realize is what ancient accounts actually say about these beings. Now, the idea that ancient aliens encountered mankind is very popular today. We've all seen these accounts of aliens bringing us great technologies and sharing all these secrets with us. But what they want you to forget is the actual origin of these ancient alien stories. They were never considered to be from outer space. They were considered to be fallen angels.
Could we reinterpret the story of fallen angels as beings not from heaven, but from Mars?
Accounts dating back thousands of years depict an angelic race of people coming down and sharing their technologies and their ideas with mankind, even producing offspring. But they want us to forget that and replace it with this idea of ancient aliens from space. And they have to, because that's the only way this deception is going to work, is if we don't understand what's going on. Now, if we look back at the origin of the modern alien abduction era, we'll see that it has a very demonic undertone.
And look at this character right here, Aleister Crowley. He's out there in January through March of 1918 doing a series of magical experiments called the Elantra workings, in which he is said to have opened a portal to another dimension, allowing an entity, I believe a demon, named Lamb, to enter through it. Now, this is the drawing that he made in 1918 of this character that he apparently had some interaction with. You know, if you look at this picture, it's curiously similar to something we might call an alien gray today in pop culture. So, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot of research on this character to realize he was into some really, really dark stuff. So why did I bring this up? This is, 1918 timeframe. Well, you have this character who's very much a part of the early space program, Jack Parsons, who was basically a disciple, practically an heir apparent to Crowley and all of his activities. Well, supposedly Crowley's portal was further enlarged by Jet Propulsion Laboratory founder and rocket fuel scientist Jack Parsons. Okay, this is the guy who was one of the founding members of JPL. It was a big part of NASA and the space program. And he's out there with Scientology and Dianetics founder L. Ron Hubbard in March of 1946 at a location that later became known as Area 51. They're doing all kinds of ceremonial sex magic, and they called it the Babylon working. And it's very similar to the Elantra working, based on ceremonial sex magic. But unlike Crowley, however, they were not as adept at opening and closing portals, and theirs apparently stayed open, and the modern UFO era began 1 year later in 1947, the same year Crowley died. So, this is all going on about the same time you've got Admiral Byrd going down there for Operation High Jump. And a decade later, we got the founding of NASA, and these are the characters, okay? Freemasons, Nazis, and occultists creating the space program.
What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51.
I remember the conversation very well.
this is a person I respected tremendously, very, very senior person. He's told me, he said, Lou, I want you to stop doing this. I said, okay, sir, I certainly can, but may I ask why? And he says, well, we already know what it is. Now, at that moment, I honestly thought maybe it was our own technology. I was running up against some super uber secret SAP, and they were telling me to stop. And I said, okay, sir, so it's ours? And he said, no, that's not what I'm saying. And he said, he asked me point blank, have you read your Bible lately? And I wasn't quite sure where he was going with that. And I said, well, sir, I think I know what it says. Where are you going with this? And he said, well, then you would know that these things are demonic and we should not be pursuing them. Yeah. And he wasn't kidding. That's exactly how he felt.
So this is a Pentagon. This is a Department of Defense official saying, stop looking at UFOs because they're demonic?
Correct.
Before we can actually fully appreciate just how big this deception is going to be, we have to uncover the underlying deception, the one that puts this whole thing to rest. We all grew up believing the story that we were told, that Earth is just a speck of dust in an infinite universe, that there are other Earth-like galaxies out there and planets far, far away, and aliens could come visit us one day. But think back to the origin of that reality. It was told to us by people that we know and trust, our teachers, our parents. Everything we saw on television supported this narrative. But what if we were actually at the center of the universe in a very unique place? And that brings us back to what every ancient cosmology understood about the skies that they were seeing above. They were not told what to believe. They were going out and they were mapping out the skies. And every one of them came to the conclusion that these stars that were rotating above our heads were making their own orbits in a fixed way. They believed that the heavens above were unchanging. Now they also believed the earth wasn't spinning or moving. They believed it to be perfectly still. And if we go back to the Genesis accounts, we start to see that they had this idea that there was a vast solid covering known as the firmament. It was the second day of creation. That's when it was made. The entire second day was spent making this solid covering, and that's where the stars were said to be placed. And other ancient cosmologies outside the Bible had the same understanding that the stars were fixed and they would all continue to make the same predictable paths for thousands and thousands of years. Many of their ancient structures were built specifically to line up with constellations. And thousands of years later, here we are seeing these same structures line up with the constellations they lined up with when they were built. They were using the sky as this great timepiece above to keep track of the days, the weeks, the months, the years. And that's how they understood things to work, that the earth was relatively flat, stationary, with a fixed, solid covering. Okay, now we were all taught in school that Christopher Columbus sailed in this big circle, and that proved once and for all that we live on a globe. But ancient maps, even after Columbus sailed his big circle, still showed that the earth was flat and stationary, with Antarctica being the edge. And what we all considered as settled science, that hundreds of years we've just known that the earth was a ball in infinite space, it was a highly debated issue until very recent history. And they were actually teaching the earth was flat in schools as recently as the 1920s.
We were just talking and I asked you what shape the earth is, and what did you say? What were you taught in school in elementary school? I was taught in school that the earth was flat.
And the first person to ever venture far enough up to see what the earth looked like was a guy named Auguste Piccard. Most of us have never heard of this person because when he made it to the stratosphere, he said he saw what appeared to be a flat disk with an upturned edge. Now, after Auguste Piccard ventured to the stratosphere, we have the U.S. Air Force showing us the stars from space for the very first time. And when you look at what they showed us, what they actually saw, you begin to understand why the moon landings never had stars in the background, why they're not showing us stars from space anymore, because it's very difficult to pull this off.
The sky is deep black.
As you can see the stars.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
The sky, of course, was black.
The heavens are 10 times as bright, stars 10 times as numerous.
and we could not see stars.
The thing about Carl Sagan, billions of billions of stars, there really are billions and billions of stars, and you can see them.
It's an unfathomable blackness, like texture you feel like you could stick your hand into.
And that's when things start to get weird, because people have gone back and looked at declassified documents that for some reason keep mentioning a flat, non-rotating Earth. Over and over again, it's in their flight plans, it's in all their working models. This flat, stationary Earth repetitively keeps showing up. If it doesn't exist, there'd be absolutely no reason to base all of your science on it. Something else shows up. In the 50s, in Russia, they had documents describing the firmament.
Deals. It's a long fly ball going back, and the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
And we take for granted our entire view of the universe hinges upon the Apollo moon missions. It was actually the first time we ever saw our planet as a whole, and somebody confirmed to us what we're being taught is actually real.
We found a very unique reel of footage.
And you want me to see this while you have me on camera?
Well, and to tell us what it is.
An old reel received by mistake. It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour.
I think when you see the footage, you'll see that it's very extraordinary, one of a kind, behind the scenes type of footage.
Yeah. Well, if it is, why do you have access to something that no one else has seen before?
Serendipity, I guess.
Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground.
Turn the camera on, please.
As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing.
If you show this publicly, you're open for a lawsuit.
Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Finally, the iris is opened up, and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window.
You're talking to the wrong guy. Why don't you talk to the administrator at NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight.
Now maybe we could say they faked the moon landings, but what about every single space agency after this? We're putting our trust in people to be honest and show us exactly what they're seeing. They would have no reason to lie about going to space, being on a space station, but that's where things start to get even weirder because we're catching them making big mistakes. They're having CGI glitches, their wire harnesses are not working correctly. If you do enough searching, you will find clip after clip of NASA fails. These people messing up in the middle of what's supposed to be a live feed, because even with the best technology, things screw up.
So many times during spacewalks outside the International Space Station, we can see air bubbles rising up. Can you touch on how there are air bubbles in space?
Can you be more specific? Air bubbles?
So yeah, like a lot of times during the footage, the NASA footage, you can see bubbles coming up out of the helmets or kind of from underneath you. How do you explain bubbles in space?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. Now sometimes you get water in the helmet, and it's either from sweat or from the cooling garments. And in some of my spacewalks, I had like water in the helmet, not like I was going to drown in the helmet, but just little bits of water. Probably came from sweat. Often on the outside of the space station, you'll liberate little pieces of. It's a really harsh environment out there, and the outside of the space station gets beat up pretty good. And sometimes, you'll see just little flecks of paint or something that you might have disrupted floating away from the suit. And, that's generally what that is. I've never seen any kind of air bubble anywhere.
Yeah. Could it be that you're filming in an underwater pool and you're not really out there?
Now, you and I could put this whole thing to rest ourselves by going to space. Civilians could go to space. They've been promising us this for years. We can just take a rocket and go to space, right? They are working on it as we speak.
In a year's time, in the last few months. Early next year, very few months.
Sometime next year.
By the end of the year, we should be taking members of the public into space.
By the mid-2030s.
By 2020.
Early in the next decade.
Before 2023.
And by 2025.
Most certainly in our lifetime.
That's 2024.
We should have a permanently occupied human base on the moon and send people to Mars.
It's going to grow old if we don't start flying next year.
We'll return Americans to the moon for the first time since 1972, if you can believe that.
With our hopes of ever going to space continually burning to the ground, we're left with no other option but to take the pictures of Earth that NASA gives us.
I don't want to fool you here. Last month, for the first time since 1972, NASA released the Blue Marble, a single snapshot of the Earth taken from outer space.
NASA's Rob Simon made this, and it had wide appeal too. For example, it ended up as the default background on the iPhone.
I didn't even know until I bought an iPhone and turned it on and kind of did a little happy dance.
Simon's job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
A single snapshot of the Earth taken from outer space.
To us, the really cool thing was the data set. Up until that point, there was no realistic color map of the globe anywhere.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it has to be.
The only time we ever see curvature from any high-altitude balloons or anything that was sent up, it's created using a fisheye wide-angle lens effect. We saw this during the Red Bull jump. Anytime they send up something on television, you're going to see this curved horizon, but it's the result of this wide-angle lens. If you send up a non-fisheye lens to the highest height, no matter how high you go, horizon always rises to your eye level, and it's always perfectly flat. We could also go to satellite footage. After all, aren't there thousands of satellites orbiting the Earth right now? One would think. And yes, there are in fact satellites being sent up year after year. There have been for decades. The only problem is these satellites are launched on balloons, and they have been falling down all over the world.
For a Michigan couple when a satellite crash landed in their backyard, and their reaction? Priceless.
Never know what's going to happen. This baby fell out of the sky and landed in our yard.
We had a problem here.
Forget it, Bart. It's so bright out you can't see anything in the sky except the Fox satellite.
Now this brings us to our second method of proof. If we can't go to space, we could simply sail anywhere towards Antarctica, towards the southern hemisphere, and eventually we're going to hit the edge of the known universe, the firmament, or whatever's out there. Could there be more land? We don't know. But we could go prove for ourselves by circumnavigating north to south. The only problem is no one's allowed to do this. The Antarctic Treaty prevents it. You can take a guided tour. They'll take you to a fake South Pole and tell you, okay, this is where it is. But independent exploration is prohibited. It's guarded heavily by the military. You can't just go to Antarctica and check it out for yourself. Antarctica has effectively been off limits since December of 1959, and this was signed into law and agreed upon by over 50 countries. That should raise a little bit of concern. Why would a icy continent be off limits? Well, that's something we may never find out. Admiral Richard Byrd, one of the first people to really explore Antarctica, came back making bizarre claims of resources and in a time when Antarctica would be highly sought after by other nations. He also talked about unexplored land beyond the South Pole.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Okay, so we can't personally go high enough to see this planet or sail far enough away to see if there is an end to this Earth or some land beyond Antarctica, but we do have a chance to watch rockets launch. They go up all the time. You can watch these rocket launches that seem to be happening more and more, but you have to wonder why they're taking this curved path and they're not going straight up. Now, the official answer is they're taking some curve with gravity, and there always will be some cover story for why they can't go straight up. But the big question is, why are we now stuck in low Earth orbit? We seem to get past it multiple times during the Apollo missions. The moon is well beyond low Earth orbit, but now we're stuck, and NASA will tell you for themselves.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Any ill effects from the Van Allen radiation belts?
No. Now, I'm not sure we went far enough out to encounter the Van Allen radiation belt. Maybe we did.
The belts are 1,000 miles to 25,000 miles above the Earth.
Then we went right out through them.
No effects on your cells?
Didn't even know it. I don't think anybody, well, maybe somebody said you went through the radiation belt, but we didn't feel it inside.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
This next generation spacecraft will enable America to explore beyond low Earth orbit.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth.
So what about the proofs we were actually given for this Earth being a globe other than pictures in NASA? One of those, the first that I recall, is boats going over the curvature.
As ships sail away, they don't disappear all at once. First, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears. Now, ships came back. They didn't fall off a table. So people realized that the world is curved. I mean, it's a big curve, but it's curved. So, the process of testing claims, the world is flat, the world is round, is what we call science. Now, if you have a claim that can't be tested, that's what we call pseudoscience. The difference between pseudoscience and regular science is whether or not you can test it. The flat Earth, well, that didn't stand up to tests. The round Earth did. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. The world is round.
Now this seems legit. Boats do appear to disappear bottom up and go over a curvature at a pretty relatively short distance, which would make sense if the Earth is indeed a ball. The only problem with this theory is when you take a high zoom camera, a telescope, or something with high zoom capabilities, you can bring back a boat that has appeared to vanish. All right, we have optical limits to how far we can see certain objects. Not to mention atmospheric lensing. Your atmosphere will act like a lens. And you can test and repeat this on a very flat surface with a camera yourself. You will see objects appear optically to disappear bottom up, just like they're going over a curvature, but you can demonstrate this on a flat surface. It's testable and it's repeatable.
Science!
Another big proof we were given was our sun, which it does appear to be going over the curve of the Earth, and we're told that's because we're falling backwards because of our rotation as we orbit the sun. But once you realize the sun is a local light, it's the exact same size as our moon above. That's why they line up perfectly on an eclipse. It's not because of the coincidence that one's just 400 times larger but also 400 times farther away. It's a much closer light and it's much smaller. Now you would think, because of all the false models we're given of this flat earth theory, that it would just always be daylight, or you should always be able to see the sun. But it's much closer and much smaller, so when it moves away from your line of sight, it follows the known laws of perspective. And it has to follow these laws because as objects that are, even if they're high up, as they get further away, they appear lower and lower, and eventually you're going to see it vanish due to perspective and the fact that our atmosphere isn't transparent. It might be clear for certain distances, but eventually everything's going to fade out. You can find time-lapse footage of the sun doing just this. You can see it, and then all of a sudden it fades out and appears to vanish. That's because it is traveling through an atmosphere that is not transparent 100%, and it is taking its local light with it. Perhaps the greatest trick of all was convincing us that we are simply another planet. We all learned the planets in school, we had songs, we built solar system models, and when we looked up and saw these lights in the sky, we assumed that we were simply a light in someone else's sky. It was a really good trick because that is the one that most people go to. How are we not round if other planets are round and we are assuming these lights to be other planets? But when they send us these images of other planets, you have to read the fine print and wonder why they rely so heavily on CGI.
Over the years, NASA has given us spectacular photos and renderings that reveal a colorful and mysterious universe.
In a small, bright office, working side by side.
Let's see,
Robert Hurt and Tim Pyle bring the universe to life.
What we're doing does have real science underlying it.
Tim, once a Hollywood animator, is now a planet illustrator. Together, they produce some of NASA's most popular images.
And this is sort of how it comes to me. And then
Many of those images have a dark, grainy start, but color and light reveal an astonishing glimpse of how the deepest regions of space might appear to the human eye. It's a delicate blend of imagination and data. The artists meet with NASA scientists over many drafts to ensure a planet or galaxy's look lines up with the research to make each one as accurate as possible.
I love the challenge. It's kind of like a puzzle to me of trying to create something that looks really cool within the restrictions that were given by the scientists.
It can take days, even weeks, to produce just a single image. The dazzling final results, enough to keep us all dreaming of the final frontier for years to come.
And while NASA struggles to get consistent photos or videos of our planet, they have no problem sending us HD images from Mars. And we're expected to just believe these are legitimate. Now there is one final thing we can do. Given the known circumference of Earth, we could simply measure these things for ourselves. And people have been doing this. They have been going out over large bodies of water and large areas of land and measuring to check for curvature. And what we have found simply is that we see too far. We see far, far beyond what the globe math should allow us to see. The current record holder for the longest line-of-sight photograph captured mountain ranges that were 275 miles away. They should have been at the given height and distance nearly 4,000 feet below the line of sight.
This is from Joshua Nowicki, and what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage.
As we find ourselves on an Earth much different than we ever imagined, it brings us back to this upcoming deception, this final card, and what it's truly all about.
We are dealing with a huge, probably the most important deception on humanity. What I'm telling you is there's a cover-up about disinformation, and has been, by the top researchers that you people rely on to hear the truth from. Over the next 10 years, I have now worked with over 400 cases of people that have been able to stop the abduction experience in the name and authority of Jesus Christ. These are entities masquerading as high technological aliens, but they can be defeated by one name.
And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty.
A new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
A new world order. A new world order. A new world order.
There's no way for us to know exactly where this alien deception is heading, but one thing is for sure, we are witnessing the fulfillment of prophecies in Scripture that told us we were going to eventually head to a one world government. A great deception is coming. We can count on it, and we have to return to the power of the one who put us here, the one who is going to have the final say.
I'm amazed. I'm so happy to know it's true.
It's true, and God created this world.
Yes.
And He's right here in the clouds above, close, not in an infinite universe. So good, right?
And I can't get over it. Made me cry.
Made me cry too.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Ruth, give me a hug. Here we go.
I need it.
Pan tam był. Czy Ziemia rzeczywiście jest kulą zawieszoną w kosmosie?
Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i nie spodziewałem się co prawda tego pytania, ale zapewniam pana, że jest płaska.
It's the best flat earth proof right behind me. This is what you have to believe in if you believe in the ball. You have to believe that you're spinning faster than the speed of sound, that you're orbiting 66,000 miles an hour, which you can't even fathom that speed, while you're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour, while the whole system is moving sideways at 1.2 miles an hour, right? And all of this is happening, okay? And how it started to happen is ridiculous, but while all of that is happening, this happens. Okay?
Oh, dude, you got some great images. I love it. He came prepared.
This is the Earth. This is water at large bodies of water at rest, lay flat.
So then all of a sudden the United States and Russia engaged in these high altitude nuclear tests, and the United States calls theirs Operation Dominic, within which we have Operation Fishball. Look up the name Dominic from the late Latin name Dominicus, meaning of the Lord. Fishball
was part of Operation Dominic. It looks like they are sending high-altitude nuclear bombs to test the fishbowl of the Lord, i.e. the firmament.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
I was talking with a gentleman from Belcom, and we were discussing the lie. Everything he was telling me was different from what we were being told was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things. We lied about everything. None of it was true.
And also, when we, against the orders of President Truman, when Allen Dulles brought in all the Nazi scientists and so forth, they went to two places. They went to CIA and they went to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which in our world we call it not a space agency. And as Kathy O'Brien has said so clearly, that's where the bulk of the mind control has been done.
The spacesuit has replaced the cowboy outfit of an earlier year. And the dream of a rocket trip to some distant planet has outdated the old-fashioned desire to fly a plane around the world.
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. Yeah. It gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped.
Check this out. This is from Taiwan to Los Angeles, and Hawaii's out there kind of in the middle. Right about here, there was a medical emergency. Where would you land if you were the pilot?
Hawaii.
Right, or maybe go to Los Angeles. Instead, they went all the way up to Alaska.
What?
Why did they go to Alaska? The answer is because this is the route. Taiwan,
oh shit,
emergency, Alaska. Hawaii is all the way out here. This is the actual route that they take.
He has called them the Galactic Federation of Aliens, and he says President Trump is aware of the existence of these aliens and had been on the verge of revealing their secrets, he claims, but was asked not to do so by the Federation in order to prevent what he calls mass hysteria. Well, the retired general says the US and Israel have kept it from the public because, quotes, humanity isn't ready and the aliens don't want to reveal themselves until humanity can evolve, he says, and understand what space really is.
Because space is the world's newest warfighting domain. Space is a warfighting domain. The next warfighting domain.
Space is a warfighting domain.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. And then shall he send his angels, and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven.
Well, there you go, the grand finale. And that was mostly, I would say, 95 to 98% of Michael's work. And so if you want to help him get a laptop, that's one thing holding him back. Sorry, you can't really edit videos on your cheap work, little Lenovo laptops like you'd like to. So if you want to help fund that mission and help him get a laptop, there's his, I put his Venmo on the screen. I'm not a Venmo person. If anything is cash related digitally or otherwise, that's my wife handles that. But if you're one of those people who know how to do Venmo, you can send a kind donation. Strengthen numbers. He would be greatly blessed to be able to have a device like we do to be able to put things on. And so if you feel led to do so, please do. That'd be good. It's nice to have that extra tool. Plus, we could do these hangouts and it would be a lot easier. A lot easier when you have a good computer with a good camera. We too are working on upgrades with our computer. I'm going to have to get a new adapter. It's miraculous how this worked because one of our ports wasn't working and I was not going to be able to have the internet cord plugged in and the mic at the same time. And literally just today only, it's working, the second port. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, this was a hopefully epic marathon, but I'm wanting to do another one to finish out some of the heavy hitters that we didn't get to. So yeah, thank you, Tyler. Thank those of you who have been in there moderating and keeping out the spam. That stuff pops up like crazy and I haven't been following it. So I thank you for doing the heavy lifting for us as we relax and do these hangouts, because it's a blessing. It's a blessing to me to hang out with you guys every time we do these. It brings new things to light. You guys share lots of wisdom with us and it's been a lot of fun. Our supporters, our patrons, anyone who has supported us, if you have in the past and you want to be a part of our in-depth, more personal studies that we do, let us know. We allow all of our patrons. There's no levels. You don't have to, be $100 patron. You could be a $1 supporter and join those studies. I just have to limit them to supporters for now, because when you start letting everybody in, sometimes it becomes, if it's not people that support you, it's people who want to get you just to see things the way they see them, and it can get kind of heated. And I like it to be peaceful with just humble, truth-seeking people. And so those have been a big blessing. Those of you who join in, there's about 12 to 14, maybe sometimes 15 of us that interchangeably that are part of those little weekly word studies. And those have just been a huge blessing. And so I like that they're smaller in number. If it starts getting too big, it might have to be a change of format, but I like the way it is. It's been a blessing. And so, yeah, thanks, brother Michael, for all your work on that. All you guys who have told him that's you guys' best video ever. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Well, we did work together on it though. There was a lot at the end because it was so overwhelming when we put it all together, or when we were putting it all together. And I said, I almost gave up because, after months and months, and you start hearing that voice of doubt saying, what if you put all this time, this effort into something and it just falls through, it falls flat, and you got those voices of doubts kind of telling you, you're wasting your time or it's already been done. And I think it is something that it really was spirit led, because God kept putting it on our hearts. And I kept, everywhere I would go, I would be visualizing, how does this information come together? How will it make sense to somebody who's never seen it before? And I think that's what we were asking God to show us this whole time was, how can we get this to the right person at the right time? And I think we really have, through all the, it's funny when you look back at all the stuff we were going through when we were making the final card and all the stuff that has gone on since then. It's like with all the chaos of life, we really have to focus on the people who need to hear the truth and why we're doing this. Because it's easy to forget that people are still waking up and get into a point in our ministry where we can be bold and share this stuff with people at work and share it with friends. And if God puts it on your heart to share the truth, man, do it. it might. What's the worst that could happen? They laugh at you. Well, they're going to laugh at us anyway. You know.
Yeah.
I think we're afraid of the rejection that we're going to get from it. But it's something I would want somebody to wake me up if I was still asleep. You know, that's the way I look at it. I would want somebody to share the truth.
Yeah, it's out of love and understanding. You're going to get a lot of hate, but it's out of love that we do send these things to people and just plant some seeds. They, you know, when the boiling water starts to settle, they might, those things that you've said or that they've seen, even if they just watch the first 10 minutes, will probably come to them whenever the time is ready. Not everybody's ready at all times. Even my dad, took him almost a year to fully come into this. And it was something where you sometimes just got to back away and go, I'm not even going to bring it up when we're around. And so eventually, you know, him seeing the fruits of all of this stuff, seeing that it's not just a distraction, that it's not a divide, really did soften his heart up. So he was able to come to the truth about it. Yeah. So we were all awake because somebody stepped out of their comfort zone and put out content and took a hit, you know, for the team, so to speak, when it comes to this. And so I'm thankful that we've been given a boldness, because that's one thing I would pray for is help me get out of my comfort zone. Help me be bold when it comes to these things, because I'm timid. We do not like being, you would think being teachers, we would like being public speakers, but not at all. I'm not a public speaker. I get terrified, and fortunately the Father's always with me when I do those things that put me out of my comfort zone. Otherwise my heart would just beat out of my chest. I mean, public speaking was
If you
the
knew
hardest
me and
class in
Josh in
college.
school, like, we were the kids who never talked, and everybody would ask, like, can you guys even talk? You know, because we were so, I guess, reserved and quiet and shy. And so to be speaking publicly, it's definitely a big step. And I think some of you are being called into that ministry of getting out of your comfort zone. And I think the hard thing is to realize is that we are all called to share the gospel, to preach the gospel. We were asked to do that. And this is a part of it, sharing the truth. You know, every word matters, Genesis to Revelation. So we got to really step out and realize that we're all called to do that, and not so much looking for somebody to teach us everything. I think that's important. So many of us are going into groups trying to find a teacher when really the Holy Spirit can guide you so much better. You know, listen to God, go to God, trust God to reveal the truth to you.
Yeah. And Debbie here talking about Moses along those lines, not wanting to speak, not wanting to be the one, because he wasn't like this excellent public speaker. I think if I remember correctly, he had like a speech problem, and he was like, can someone else do this? You know, like it, and that's how a lot of us feel. And I was talking to a preacher's wife about this lady, real sweet. And she said, you know, haven't you ever thought that maybe God wants people to speak that don't want to be seen? And those words really stuck with me, because I was like, man, maybe that's why he's trying to use so many of us that don't want to be seen.
I was
not about
I was
us.
at a work conference a few years back before we started really sharing on our stuff online here. And a woman came to me, and we had just been talking about God I didn't even know this woman. She was at a work conference we had to do. We spent a whole day, you know, teachers always have to go to these trainings. And she came up to me at the end of the service and the end of the the end of the conference. And she said, this is going to sound weird. And she said, but God showed me something. And she grabbed a hold of me and she said, listen, God told me this in the spirit. And she started crying. She said, God needs people like you to speak his words. And she was like, he is, you know, it's that time where it was just like, she sounded so very desperate. And it kind of shook me, because I like Josh and me always have been, we don't like to be in the public eye or to speak out. And when she told me that, I thought, man, if this is really something that God's showing her, for her to come to me, really, I was a stranger to her that day. We talked a little while, but for her to feel comfortable enough to say that, I thought, wow, I think what God is calling all of us to do is to step out and to speak.
Yeah. Just make sure you're ready and speaking for him. I know there's sometimes where I'm like, we get this zeal and we want to speak, and sometimes we're not ready quite yet to speak. But yeah, it's definitely something we all need to be mindful of if we're feeling that urge to say something. Keep your ears open. It's one thing to have your eyes open, but we need to have our ears open as well. And that's where a lot of the ones that are closest to the Father in the Word, when you're reading about them, Abraham and Moses and so many others, especially the beloved Son, they didn't just talk and ask for things. They were talking and listening. They were asking for instructions. And so they were hearing. And that's something it's hard to do we get used to going to the Father with our needs and our wants, and he already knows what they are. He wants a relationship with us. He's obviously listening to you. And that's the powerful thing. The creator of the firmament, the creator of all this intelligent design, wants a relationship with us. He's listening. And that's what humbled me enough in the first place to ask him questions about what we live on, the truth about creation. And so it's definitely so awesome to have those opportunities that we take for granted, for sure. So much so. Reading your comments as we go, because I know we're gonna end it short. I wanted to go longer. I was hoping to go well into 6 o'clock, almost really late. What time is it now? 4:47, almost 5. Yeah, we've got a lot of videos that can be brought to the mix that have been buried deep over time with censorship. So I'm hoping to show those and do a part 2 of this, and then at some point have my dad come on and look at the message video that he had. Make that its own thing, separate that from the mix, because it's a pretty cool thing to look at. So again, you guys are awesome. Thanks, brother, for coming on, spending your time, and putting the work in you did in the past. All those who have helped contribute to this ministry. My precious wife, she has been a huge, huge part of my growth spiritually. People out there, look, Geo Truth, got George out there with his awesome mind. Guy is brilliant, sharing his knowledge, helping us out. Yeah, Deborah, Tracy Jones, good to see you. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been fun. I just wanted it to be laid back and fun, where we kind of go through and talk about some of these old projects and videos. It's been quite the journey the last 7 years. I still can't believe it's been that long. And like I said earlier, my daughter's my gauge of timeline. However old she is, I could add about 9 months to that, because it's around that time I was waking up. She'll be 7 next month. So it's definitely been over 7 years.
Yeah, it's weird. It feels like it just started.
Yeah, for real. I do feel like once you get past 25 and you get married, it's like you blink in 5-year segments. It's like 5, 10, 15. Okay, it's been 15 years now. It happens quick. Now I've got grandchildren. And now we have
Grandpa Joshy.
When we first started, when I first started this journey, I had 3 children. Now I've got 5. Now you've got 3.
Mm-hmm.
You better catch up, buddy.
Catching up to you, man.
It's okay. You'll understand. I would say you'll understand when you're my age, but that's your line. You're 7 minutes older.
Yeah, I'm 7 minutes older, so yeah. I was planned.
Yeah, no, yeah. He was planned. I wasn't. Yeah. What was it I always used to say? Can't remember now. I've lost my insult lines. Josh, blink and decades. Yeah. Decades pass. It seems like time is speeding up for sure. If you guys have any prayer requests, let us know. Let the family know. We got some members here in the chat that are powerful prayer warriors, and it makes a difference. Got to have faith, though. Got to have trust. Brother is 30 minutes older than you. Man, you can learn. You can learn from their wisdom.
Yeah, 7 minutes apart.
Yeah, he always says, "You'll know when you're my age. You'll understand."
Yeah, when I was your age, I felt the same way, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we've got some interesting twin stories. When we come back on next time, hopefully we'll share some of our stories growing up in the 80s and 90s, the way things were back then when we grew up way back in the old days in the 1900s.
Yeah, we got to tell some stories, man. The elementary days when we were in elementary school in South Georgia, this little town, Hayhira, the playground wars that happened. It needs to be a movie. We got to sit down and talk about these things. They were hilarious. I mean, it's funny looking back on it. Back then it was so big, but we grew up in the era, what was it, like Jean-Claude Van Damme and all the fighting movies were coming out, and we're, Ninja Turtles, and we're in elementary school, and there just was always these playground fights. And Josh absolutely saved me one day. It was so funny. We'll have to share that one day when we have a chance to. We'll just do it. We just need to call it story time. Get on here and just share some fun stories, because they are, I'm telling you, we could write a book.
Yeah.
We started to at one point.
Yeah, I started to at one point. There was just too many stories. I was like, nah, this would be more of like a sitcom that just goes on forever. Somebody said, yeah, was Josh grabbing at your heels? Yeah, it's like, Jacob and Esau. It was funny because I'm studying the seed of Jacob a couple years ago, and I'm getting deep into the story. And here it is now. My brother has a wife named Rachel, but of course he's the older one though. I was relating more to Jacob because he was the younger one, and he wrestled, and I wrestled. So it was like I'm really trying to relate to this guy. And here my brother married someone named Rachel, and I thought that was so funny. And his middle name, Michael's middle name, is James, which has the same meaning of Jacob. Why? Because King James, when the King James Bible came about, the name Jacob, from what I've heard, was replaced with James. So when you're in the New Testament and you're reading James, it has the same meaning of Jacob for that reason. So it's fascinating that Jesus had brothers, Joseph and Jacob. Think about that. His dad was named Joseph, and his dad's dad, or his step grandfather, who Joseph's dad would have been named Jacob. So it parallels. The stories just parallel. There's this prophetic echoing journey throughout the word that is fascinating. So when I was bringing that to my brother, I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many connections there. With
crazy how many connections there are with that.
This prophetic journey, I would say it never ends because it doesn't ever end. It's going to keep going on for eternity. But yeah, thank you guys for joining in. It's getting 3 hours and 50 minutes. I even packed a lunch. It was like a picnic. I had food up here. I had peanut butter and jelly and some stuff. I was like, I don't know how long this is going to last, but my wife's like, I need your help. I need you to go to the store for me. She's, again, under the weather, so pray for her. I seen a prayer request in the chat. Someone said pray for country dad, maybe? I think. I could be wrong. I might be misquoting. I saw it and I lost it. Pray for someone. Let me see if I can see it real quick. Scrolling through here. And I lost it. Darn.
And someone just asked about our other channel. It's called Grace and Truth Fellowship. And it's smaller. There's only a few thousand subscribers on it. But if something happens to this one, it's there too.
Yeah.
And some of the videos we share on both channels, like the final card and some of the other stuff.
I'll see if I'll put it in the chat, but then I'll go through after this is over and add it. I don't know why I didn't put it in the comments. Grace and Truth Fellowship. And it'll pull up some other channel that has a weird logo.
Channels that try to
scroll down.
Same name.
Let me click it. Yeah, there's so many knockoff versions. Oops. Put it in the chat, and then when I'm done, I will add it in the studio. I didn't have a chance to do that. I thought if I go in there and edit, it might mess up the whole situation. But yeah, this has been fun. Sub to his channel.
We'll see y'all again next time.
Yeah, he hasn't put up a video in a while, so give him some grief. Tell him
coming back
to get with the program. And like I said earlier, if you want to support him, help him out, help him get a laptop, that'd be good. Those things aren't that expensive.
Oh, somebody said, here it is. It says, pray for country dad to have a healing in his back, please.
Okay.
So can I say something real quick, a testimony?
Yeah.
Okay. We got a second. Talking about healing somebody's back. In 2006, I was in Colorado Springs. Josh, me and him used to train up at the Olympic Training Center in the summers. And one of our coaches became the resident coach at the Olympic Training Center. And if you don't know our past, Josh and I wrestled from 9-10 years of wrestling competitively. And I injured my back. I got dropped by a much heavier wrestler. It was a practice drill, and this guy just completely slammed me on my back. And it was like I was on my way out of Colorado Springs. We were headed back to Georgia. I was my last practice, and it injured my back so severely. I had bulging discs that I could feel with my hands. But anyways, long story short, I had overwhelming back pain for a long time, from 2006 to 2000, and I believe it was 19. My back was really tight. I was always in pain. I was always using heating pads. I was hanging upside down off of inversion tables and things like that. I just kind of dealt with the pain. As uncomfortable as it was, road trips, sitting down, laying down, I always felt like I had this weight on my back, like I was carrying a heavy weight. And Josh and I were praying for our mom to be healed. And I had done a compilation on healing videos. And I was putting together all these testimonies of people who'd been healed and putting them into a video. And Josh and me had been praying so fervently that our mom would be healed. And one of the things our mom would say was she didn't feel like God would heal her because she wasn't worthy to be healed. She felt like she had done things in her past and healing wasn't for her, that what happened to her was God's will. And she kind of had that false reality presented to her. And I was riding in my car and I was praying about her. And I was like, God, help our mom feel worthy of being healed. But as I'm saying this prayer, I'm like squirming in my seat, I'm like, my back is it's just not good. And it was like the Holy Spirit spoke to me as clear as he's ever has and just said, you're praying for your mom to be healed, but you don't feel worthy of being healed. And it convicted me. And I put my hand on my back in the car. I was by myself. And I said, God, heal my back right now in the name of Jesus. And I mean, it felt like icy hot hit me. And I thought, oh my gosh, it felt like something happened. And I got out of the car and I felt something I hadn't felt in 10, 15 years. And my back felt lighter. I felt like I could move better. And I was speechless. I'm walking through the store after this and I'm like, something's changed. And I didn't know what to make of it at the time. And we're sitting at a restaurant and, somebody asked me, they said, you're actually being really quiet right now. Like, what's going on? And I said, I think God just healed my back. And that was 2000. I think it was 18 or 19. I mean, it's been a number of years and I have not, the chronic back pain that I had all those years was gone. And it was something that I said, man, people who think that God doesn't still heal, he still does. He still does these great and powerful things that he did, like Jesus said. Even greater things than these will you do. God is still, the Holy Spirit is still working and still doing those things.
Yeah, that's what helped bring me here was those powerful miracles. I think it was 16 years ago now when he healed my broken heart.
Yeah.
And like you, I thought, I'm being punished. I deserve this. I'm too far away to even talk to the Most High. I don't deserve any healing. But I remember just saying those words, like, I'm right here I want to end it all if I have to be in this heartbreaking pain anymore. I remember that grace and that mercy, him reaching out when I turned to him with all my heart. Like it says, turn to him with all your heart. I turned to him with all my heart. Sadly, it was because I had nowhere else to go. I felt, the world was not going to pick me back up. The world could not put me back together again. But the Most High, he's not like the world. He doesn't have these worldly pleasures and things to offer you. He has something far greater, just a taste of what's to come. And so it was like you, it was the same thing. I've had that eye-opening moment of realizing how he works, how his grace and mercy works. And man, it's like now I don't want to disappoint you again, Father. I want to do what you want me to do, live how you want me to live. I don't want to get so deep into the world and lean on it that when it falls away, I fall with it. So yeah, definitely. His power don't limit his power. Don't limit. People say when we believe in the biblical earth, we're limiting him as a creator. No, he is who he says he is. He's done what he says he's done, and he can do far more than you can imagine. So powerful things, powerful times. We are blessed to experience these things. Definitely not about us. It's about him and what he's doing, what he can do, and the long-suffering aspect, that mercy enduring forever. That's why I wore this shirt. His mercy endures forever. Looks like I hit copy and paste, but this is the same, different Bible verses covering the entire shirt, and there's more. I ran out of room. Almost needed an entire suit to go with it. But yeah, pray for those who have put in prayer requests. You guys are awesome. Let my brother get back to playing with the family, and I'm going to go and grab some things for the wife. Yeah,
she needs you, brother.
Yeah, Tyler said, "All praise to the Most High." Hallelujah. Thank you, Father. Thank you for bringing us all together for these great times. And great times ahead as we seek things out. You guys are awesome. We love you. The Father loves you.
Yeah.
And
God bless you.
See you real soon.